That was at 1:30 tomorrow.
No, it's the 3rd of October.
Can't remember. Oh, let me check my email.
Thanks. We'll do in meetings this morning.
You are correct. It's on my calendar.
Okay, it is 9 a.m. I will call this meeting of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners to order. We will be abiding by the Open Meeting Act as amended, a copy of which is at the entrance to this room. At about 9:15, we will also be meeting as the Lincoln County Board of Equalization. Again, abiding by the Open Meeting Act as amended. First item this morning is open with prayer, and Commissioner Weems, would you lead us, please?
Thank you. Please join me. Heavenly Father, be with us today as we deliberate and make sound decisions. Hopefully the best we can. Be with those who protect our many freedoms, both here and abroad in the military. Be with our law enforcement and first responders, and protect them as they serve our safety here at home. Thank you for the many blessings of rain we've had and many opportunities that you have bestowed upon us in this great country. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Next item is to approve the minutes regarding Lincoln County Board of Commissioners meeting held on September 11, 2023.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the meeting of September 11th, 2023.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Bruns.
Abstain.
Woodruff.
Aye. Next item is to consider the following. First, claims and treasurer's receipts.
Motion to approve the claims and treasurer's receipts as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I would like to make note of the amounts on page 2 for interest investments for the county's funds.
Nice to have that, isn't it?
Nice, yes.
Also nice to get the highway allocation for September. Fellas probably could use some of that. Yeah, good.
It's probably already there.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye. Next, receive and order filed the fee report submitted by the county sheriff.
Chairman, I'd move to approve the fee report that was filed the fee report from the county sheriff in the amount $5,640.02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Good morning, Todd.
Morning, Todd. Next item is adoption of resolution number 2023-18 for the 2023-2024 cash in lieu option for the Lincoln County Health Insurance Program. Becky?
This is a resolution we have to do annually to allow people to participate. It has been $400 a month. I did attach a survey from other counties, so you can see what they were doing.
Okay. We're not the lowest nor the highest.
It was just a survey they done last May, I think. I just kept it, I thought I'd attach it with it.
Is there any interest in raising that?
I'd say we better stay where we're at, given our budget pressures.
Okay, looking for a motion on that resolution number 2023-18.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion, we approve Resolution 2023-18 for the 2023-2024 cash in lieu option, as we all sign.
Second.
You have a motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right. Okay, next item on our agenda is to authorize the highway super to sign the annual certification for buyback funds from July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 to the State of Nebraska Department of Roads. Good morning.
Morning, Jason Schultz, Lincoln County Highway Superintendent.
Good morning, Jason.
And this is an annual certificate, correct?
Yeah, the annual cert for use of our buyback funds.
And
So just had a couple of expenditures last year. I think one being one of the right-of-way acquisitions for the Sutherland Bridge project, and the other one was a material, dirt, gravel, and that sort of thing for finishing up a project as well on our road project.
Cattle Growers Road, I believe, right?
Yep.
Those two things are noted here on this certification. Colleagues, should we authorize the signature?
Probably a good idea, wouldn't it?
I think we should.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to authorize Highway Superintendent Jason Schultz to sign the annual certification for buyback funds from July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023 to the State of Nebraska Department of Roads.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
It's nice to have their financial assistance on some of these.
Yes, it is.
And that list may be bigger next year, right?
We're gonna really
Hoping.
see the use of that coming up here with the Sutherland Bridge project, so.
Didn't have-
Just for a little history, it is nice, but we have to remember that when buyback funds came into place, some of you guys weren't quite as old as I am.
Nor will we
It
ever
was
be.
to replace other funds that were taken away that were considerably more, so just wanna,
Our match
Put
is
that
all
out
match,
there.
yeah.
there you go.
It wasn't a.
It wasn't
It
a
wasn't
easy
necessarily
gift.
a good thing.
That's correct, but it was something, okay.
It could be better, is that what
There
you're
you
saying?
go.
There you
Okay,
go.
we
We're
have a
happy
motion
with
and
what
a
we have.
second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Hughley. Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye. Now, do we have that,
Here, Jason already signed it, so.
Oh, I'm glad that we made that motion.
I was gonna say, the copy I have here looks like it's your signature. Good enough, great. Okay, next item is to authorize the chairman to sign the right-of-way application submitted by Great Plains Communications. This is for,
Yeah, so this is a fiber line up northeast portion of the county from pretty much county line coming in on Garfield Table in Holt Canyon there.
I was gonna say that it looked like east of the oil,
Yeah,
down in the canyon.
yeah, it's coming clear from the east county line, coming back in.
Up past Charlie Holt's.
Yeah, I think it actually, that's where it stops, I think, is it Holt's there.
This is a fiber.
Yeah.
Does it go across our roads at all?
Did
In
you
the
go
dip-
look at this one already with them?
No, I looked at the south one, but I haven't.
Okay.
This is on, looks like East Kramer Road.
That's right.
Well, and then East Garfield.
Oh, yeah.
This is where the oil ends up here, and then this is down in the, where you drop into the canyons.
Okay.
The Holt Ranch is down here.
And I
So this
think
is-
they had the fees on the bottom of one of the sheets there where they explained the.
Oh, it does, yeah.
That ditch is, kind of precarious in places. There's a lot of deep water wash in there when you get heavy rains. Are they,
Yeah, we'll have to go meet with them on this one before, prior to installation,
yeah,
so.
because I know, well, I think it was in 18 when we got all the heavy rain. That was quite a mess.
Mhm.
And I think they had to climb down in those ditches and have some guys carry some fence back so they could get some material. So we want to be careful where you put that thing.
You will meet with these fellows?
Yes.
These folks?
Yep.
Looks like there's supposed to be a check for $970. Is that,
Yes,
is that accompanying the out?
Yes.
So you'll take care of that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, colleagues,
Chairman, or Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to authorize your signature on the right-of-way application submitted by Great Plains Communications regarding fiber optic install in, on Kramer and East Garfield Table Road.
Second?
we have a motion and a second, and I do have a check here for the full amount. Any other discussion? Roll, please.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye. Okay, next item is to authorize the chairman to sign the right-of-way application submitted by Great Plains Communication.
Mr. Chairman, just not a motion, but as a point for the board, when Great Plains or whomever submits next time, or whoever presented this, I would like to have it in color, because personally, I have no idea where this is going. On my black and white, I cannot see anything.
You took the words right out of my mouth, Joe.
Thank you.
Looks like Highway 23, that's about the only thing I can decipher. Is that correct?
Yes, this one is in the southeast part of the county. You went and looked at this one, did you, Brian? What
It's
was,
over by, Sure, John Scher's, I believe.
I think it has a description of the path, yeah, I think it has a description of the path on the bottom of the one page there that tells
Maybe you
you.
can't even see the roads of the one, the black
Yeah.
and white, you can't even see where McNichol Road is at.
Come up McNichol and then down Farnham.
Yes,
They call it up
What it says.
Yep.
Nickel and Farnham Road.
Something should have been a base fee, one crossing, and then the footage.
They
does
will-
that go across the creek? Down-
It's a dry.
That's, yes,
area.
okay.
Yeah, they'll bore under our culverts.
That's good, because remember that wasn't dry here, and you worked for us at the time.
Right.
Okay,
I've seen it wet.
yeah, it was pretty wet that year. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and there is a check accompanying this for $512.27.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion authorizing you to sign the right-of-way application submitted by Arapahoe Telephone
Nope,
Company.
nope, one before it.
We already
Yeah,
did
we
the
did
one
that.
before it.
We did that.
Oh, okay, good, thank you.
You're welcome. Arapahoe Telephone Company Communications.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
You were probably just thinking the other one, because you could read it.
Because I could read the one before, couldn't I? Gentlemen, thank you for working up this new, this is
Yeah.
a little more in line with what it should be. Thank you again. Since I've got one at the top of my own.
That's a great choice. Nice choice.
It is 9:15. We will recess as the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners and convene as the Lincoln County Board of Equalization, again abiding by the Open Meetings Act as amended. First item on this agenda is to approve minutes regarding Lincoln County Board of Equalization meeting held on September 11, 2023.
Chairman, I would move the equalization board from 9/11 of 23.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Hughley. Bruns.
Abstain.
Woodruff.
Aye. Next item is certificates of correction and refund as submitted by the county assessor. You say none. That's good, thank you. Next item is motor vehicle tax exemption applications as submitted by the county treasurer.
Alex Gerchuling, County Treasurer.
And it looks as though we have several here, correct? About 4? Everybody gets that.
Everybody gets
Everybody
one.
gets one? You don't want one.
Definition of committee.
4 people get one.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion, we approve the application for exemption for the American National Red Cross for a 2021 Ram box van used to transport blood and other items. It's under a charitable designation and recommend for approval by the Lincoln County Treasurer.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, I have an application for exemption from West Central District Health Department for a car trailer, 2009. It's a 2-wheel cargo trailer that will be used primarily for education events or in the event of a natural disaster. It would be used to transport emergency supplies to needed areas. My motion is that we approve it. It has also been approved by Lincoln County Treasurer Alex Vertulo.
Second.
we have a motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Chairman, regarding Form 457 for First Church of the Nazarene here at 1802 North Jefferson, North Platte. The motion would be to approve their application for a 1999 Ford van, transfer, specified transporting people to and from church-sponsored activities. The county treasurer has signed off his approval. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Weems.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I have an application for exemption from Great Plains Health for 3 vehicles, a 1999 Chevy pickup, a 2023 Nissan Rogue, another 2023 Nissan Rogue, to be used, as they state, for charitable purposes. I would note that it is marked recommended for approval from our county treasurer with the note that I agree with, that it is not charitable, but we should accept for general use according to state statute. It would be my motion that we go ahead and approve this application for exemption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bruns,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Hughley, Weems,
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Okay, is there anything else to come before the Board of Equalization? Hearing none, so at 9:20, we will adjourn as the Lincoln County Board of Equalization and reconvene as the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, ladies.
So some, reason, because all the others on ship insurance are in real large type, except after that one. was so small. What in the-
Somebody must have changed their
Yeah.
font.
Tammy, there's only about 5 refills left in there.
They always just put the total in.
It won't let me save down here.
It must be a thing, because I think they all do it like that.
Who's scrolling? Ooh,
That's,
no wonder they need legal advice.
by title.
Yeah, huh?
Should I be signing on the third one? Just give me one more thing to mess up. I did beat my husband at a tractor pull this weekend, though. Square. I pulled way farther than he did. Well, and Tommy had the farthest pull of his career.
Really?
It was a good day in Nebraska,
Oh, great. Saturday, I take it.
Saturday.
That meant Hoover Industries on the tractor pull.
What's that?
Hoover Industries. on the
Industries. Sons. In Stanford, interviewed William. Emotional. About
So it was one of the little grandson.
Yeah. She asked him how it felt to have his grandson close with him. It was unexpected.
You can do that, you can do that now with the screen. Yeah. Green chemical tablets is the same material. Green bins, will do the same thing, same
Go
color.
out there and have a music, start to tell the enemies, yeah. I'm not sure that was kosher, but I think it worked.
Imagine it would.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
What?
I can't hear.
That's one of them?
That's one of them.
You know, I've worn this, what, 3 times about the last year. I'm not ready to pitch it out the door. I'd rather just not hear that.
My brother wears hearing aids, and when his squeal, everybody can hear him except him. He can't hear him.
Oh,
You
trust
can
me,
hear-
I
you
can hear
it?
that little sucker.
Oh, back to something.
Well, that was interesting.
First read this, it says replacement of front end, and I thought maybe something caught up there.
That wake you up over there, Jason? That wake you up?
In the book. Okay, it is 9:30.
Mr. Chairman, she had to be excused for a minute, hardware or software problem. There she goes, sorry.
She snuck out of it.
It is 9:30. Our next agenda item is the following planning items. Judy, would you join us, please?
Judy Clark, Lincoln County Planning Administrator.
Okay, great.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Judy.
Good morning.
Looks like you have several items here.
3, yep. They're all public hearings.
Okay. So Tyler, we open the public hearing, is that correct?
So on the first one, I don't believe the board's sitting in a judicial capacity, but the second two, I believe you are. So what I will have you do, Mr. Chairman, is call each public hearing separately. The first one, like all the others, the following two, once you open the hearing, I will probably control the presentation of testimony from the public and receipt of exhibits.
Okay.
Because you are sitting in a judicial capacity, it's not your job to make the application for the applicant or a case against it. You're simply deciding whether or not it meets with our zoning regulations.
Okay. So the first public hearing I can open or
Yes.
state. First public hearing is we will discuss and consider action on an amendment to the Lincoln County, Nebraska land use map, amending certain land from agricultural protection to residential acreage. The property is located at 22468 North Caligores Road and described as lying in the northeast quarter of the west half and southeast quarter of Section 28 Township 16 North Range 29 west of the 6 p.m. Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Okay, and you should have all received a copy of my review comments, a copy of the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan, and then a copy of a survey that essentially surveys out a pivot corner. In order to rezone a property, it's the duty of the Planning Commission to ensure that its rezoning is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. So the request for this amendment was recommended for approval at the Lincoln County Planning Commission meeting on September 12th, 2023, with a vote of 8-0 in favor. The next two items are proposing to rezone approximately 10.24 acres, and there is also a request for a conditional use permit to construct a multifamily dwelling for the purpose of housing agricultural workers. Full disclosure, the applicants already began construction on the building without first obtaining a permit. But they were very compliant. Once they received a letter from me, they immediately came in and asked what they needed to do to move forward, if possible. Planning staff does recommend only amending the land use for that small pivot corner parcel where the proposed family dwelling, multifamily dwelling is proposed to be located. The property and surrounding area are agriculture in nature, and the majority of the property is utilized for agricultural purposes. So amending the entire section would probably seem to defeat the purpose of an agricultural area. I did the resolution, or I guess we didn't do a resolution for the amendment. But there are two motions on there, one to approve and one to deny, just to help you along with getting the motions, or you can make your own. It's whatever. The applicant is in the audience if you have any additional questions. But again, this is just to amend the land use, which would allow the rezoning.
Okay. So Tyler, I had opened the public hearing, correct?
Yes.
So,
You can have that one.
so it is 9:34. Need a motion to open or just open?
You can just open
At 9:34, we will open this public hearing to discuss and consider action on the amendment to the Lincoln County, Nebraska land use map, amending certain land from agricultural protection to residential acreage. And we have described the property's address and location previously. I will open this public hearing.
Is this our time to speak?
Yes,
This is
sir.
one of them.
Yes, sir. You come up here, state your name and sign in for us, please. Right up here, please.
Jeff Smith.
Jeff Smith?
Jeff. I neighbor Schultz's feedlot.
Morning, Mr. Smith.
Today's the 18th.
Yes, it
Yes.
is.
I don't know what this agenda item is.
You're fine. Please have a seat and state your name again.
Jeff Smith.
Okay, great.
Good morning.
Good morning, please proceed.
Yeah, I neighbor this feedlot and he's been growing and growing, which is great for him, not so much for the rest of us. I guess I question the situation with the stench, the flies. I question whether or not he's taking proper steps to contain the nitrogen in the water. I'm basically here just to try and protect my rights. I don't seem to have many, so.
Okay, tell me where you have a residence in that neighborhood?
That was the intention when I bought the property in 2002. I was gonna build a house out there. I did a lot of dirt work, I think we planted 2,000 trees. Then he shows up and my plans basically go out the window.
I see.
I had a building permit, Judy took it away when he showed up. So she told me that the original feedlot was as big as he's gonna get. He's expanded twice since then. And I bought since I couldn't live up there, I spent a lot of time up there. I bought an RV. I was gonna move up there to stay in summertime. The stench is bad enough that frankly, I don't want anything up there that doesn't have to be up there, so I never moved it up there.
I see.
And I guess that's what I had to say.
Any questions for Jeff Smith from this board?
I guess I would have a question, or more so a comment. I think from what I'm hearing, you've addressed the confined animal feeding operation that's up there now, right?
Well,
Because
there's
those
three
were the
of them.
comments, well, whether there's 3 or 5 or 7, that's what you were addressing. Because of the
Yes.
stench and the flies. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay?
The
Anything else
one
from-
is, I have a stock well, and I don't know how he pulled this off, but that big sewage lagoon is about 200 yards from that stock well. I look at that as a potential point of contamination for the aquifer. But
Do you have any thoughts, concerns, questions regarding what's before us during this public hearing, which is the rezoning of, or making an amendment to our plan, our land use plan, from agriculture to residential acreage? And it's my understanding that this isn't exactly at the same location as the feedlot. It's at a different location.
it's south of the feedlot a
Right.
couple miles.
So I'd be interested. I think that's where we really need to keep.
I mean, that's
That's what the hearing
That's
is
the only
for.
thing that's
Comments?
pertinent to this hearing.
Exactly.
Well, I'm just here to report that things aren't all sunny up there, I guess would be a good way to put it.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate your input. Thank you, sir. would you state your name and sign in for us, please?
My name's Dwayne McLean at 20099 North Highway 83, North Platte. I'm the president and sole owner and broker of Nebraska Land Brokers. I live 1.5 miles south of the location that you are going to make the decision on whether or not to approve the amendment. I voice my opinion and approval of this amendment to be approved by you as the board, and I'm open to any questions.
Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, sir. Any questions from this board?
My questions will be for council and Judy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your input, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else wish to speak? I would advise you not to throw him out. Just a hint. I was talking to you. Anyone else wish to speak on the first of 3 public hearings? Hearing none, I would welcome a motion to close this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, move to close the public hearing.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We will be closing the first of 3 public hearings. Roll call, please.
Bruns,
Aye.
Hughley,
Aye.
Weems,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye. Okay, it is 9:41. Tyler, do you want to, should I state this public hearing, or do you wish to?
Well, you have to take some action on that item, right?
Oh,
So all you're deciding is whether or not you're willing to and want to amend the future land use map contained within the comprehensive plan. That allows for a potential change in zoning.
okay, thank you for that clarification. Okay, so our task is to consider action on this amendment to the Lincoln County, Nebraska land use map, amending certain land from agricultural protection to residential acreage.
Mr. Chair, for the sake of conversation, I would make a motion to approve an amendment to the Lincoln County, Nebraska land use map, amending certain land from agricultural protection to residential acreage located at 22468 North Cattle Grower Road on property described as lying in the northeast quarter, west half, and southeast quarter of Section 27, Township 16 North, Range 29 West of the 6th PM, Lincoln County, Nebraska, more particularly described on the map attached to the meeting materials.
Okay. We have a motion
Second.
and a second to amend the Lincoln County, Nebraska land use map. Any discussion?
I have questions.
Questions? Okay.
Judy, you spoke to the fact that there's a building, yeah, if you come forward with. Question of the process.
Okay.
Okay. So before us is a decision of whether or not to take this from ag to residential.
Agricultural protection to residential acreage, amending the comprehensive plan, yes.
Not rezoning it, just amending it.
Rezoning comes in the next one.
Yep.
Okay, so I don't know where this question's appropriate, but my concern is the process.
Okay.
And this is not a singular problem, this is countywide.
Yeah.
And we've had multiple discussions about the process. If we're serious about modifying, or it's not the right word, but truly taking a serious look at how we proceed with buildings of any type, we have to say, do it in order. And so that's my concern.
It would make my life easier if everybody would do it in order. That is correct. So this is not a lone instance. It does happen quite a bit out in the county where somebody will simply start building a house without getting a land use permit, or they will We just had one that I just got an email about Friday where someone split a piece of property to a 5-acre lot, filed it, and it's an illegal lot split. It does happen quite frequently. I think education is a big thing, and I think it's not just property owners that need to be educated. I think it's realtors, I think it's title companies, attorneys, contractors, everybody that needs to be educated. I've tried to do it for years, but out in the county, people do know there's not building inspections, and so they just think there's nothing. Now, there are people that have built before that probably should know the correct way of doing it, but there could be a miscommunication between the contractor and the property owner. Ultimately, it's the property owner that is liable for anything that would occur if they did not do things appropriately. Most of the time through the years, if somebody is caught doing something illegal, I will send them a letter. I will give them 30 days to come to my office and try to rectify the situation, fix the situation. In some cases, people refuse, and that's when I get the deputy county attorney involved. In this instance, he did not take the 30 days allotted. He immediately called and said, help me through the process to fix the situation.
So how do we fix the perception or the lack of knowledge out there, or do our part anyway, to make sure that people know that there is a process that needs to be adhered to, because we do have planning and zoning and land use regulations for a reason, and that's for the health, safety, and welfare of those in Lincoln County.
People will probably hate me for saying this, but I would say bigger fines. What I'm allotted to do is double a permit fee. Our permit fee for a land use permit is $150. So does $300 really give anybody a point? You know, now if it was a couple thousand, it might.
You know, this issue has been going forever.
Years, yep.
Yes.
So, my way of thinking, many of our rural neighbors probably don't pay a lot of attention, maybe to the paper, the news, so, but really, you know, advertising and is the only way to do it, is if we can repeatedly have some kind of a public service message. For example, Jerry, you're on every Tuesday morning, right? Just say, remember, you out there listening, because a lot of our rural people will be listening, that if you do anything, these are sort of the procedures, and we've had problems, and we'd really appreciate your help. When we give a talk on TV to remind people that that's out there, maybe take an ad out in the paper a couple times a year and say, per statute, whatever, we need to do this, but it is a tough issue, because you're right, Judy, people say, well, they don't have a building inspector, you just build. A lot of people don't even realize you need a land use permit or what that even consists of. You know, I mean, we're talking about separation of, you know, septics and wells and stuff and setback from roads, but that's pretty much it. So over the years, that's sort of been my experience, and to be quite honest with you, I'm not sure I, as a member of the county board, have done my share in getting that education out there.
Okay, good points.
Well, yeah, to your comment, all of us in the rural are guilty of that. I'm certain our family has been as well. But if we're gonna be serious about turning the corner on planning and zoning, something has to change. I don't know how. It's unfortunate that this is before my neighbor, who's been a good neighbor. He's been a good steward. I protested along with Jeff and some others on the expansion before I was on this board. But to his credit, he's done a very good job with that yard, and I have nothing but positive to say about that. But the process, as I say, unfortunately, the process is county-wide, and that's what my concern is. How do we get that, how do we turn that corner, so.
Let's just rein the discussion back in on the process. and
Okay,
Get our amendment to the future land use map done.
Thank you.
okay.
Okay. Did we have a motion?
We have a motion and a
And
second.
Motion and a
second.
second.
And we were in discussion. Any other discussion in regards to this amendment?
Maybe you stated it and I just didn't catch it. Was there any pushback or testimony for or against this portion during the planning and zoning meeting?
Planning and zoning, the planning commission did it a little bit differently. We opened all 3 public hearings at the same time because we knew that people would talk about the actual construction of the building in all of this, because general public doesn't understand. You've got an amendment to the land use rezoning and then a conditional use. So as far as the amendment, I can't say that there was any pushback. We did have one testimony from a neighboring property owner that does not like the fact that a multifamily dwelling is going to be put in that area. But as far as the actual amendment, there wasn't really a lot of pushback for that.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bruns,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Hughley,
Aye.
Weems,
No,
Woodruff.
Aye.
Okay,
Amendment
so what
passed.
happens as a result of that is I have a document that I put together that Becky has to sign saying that she has now spread the change of the land use map in the comprehensive plan. She keeps it on file. So now we can go on to the second item.
And do you want me to open that?
You can open that hearing up.
Okay, our second public hearing, it is 9:15. We will discuss and consider action on an application by Steve and Tricia Scholes to rezone certain land from an A1 agricultural district to an R2 urban residential district on property located at 22468 North Caledoras Road and described as lying in the northeast quarter, west half, and southeast quarter of section 27, township 16 north, range 29 west of the 6 p.m. Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Okay, now the board is sitting in a judicial capacity now. You're making a determination on the application. So, Judy, would you give us planning's position on this?
Okay. I'm not gonna read everything that's here, but on September 12th, 2023, Lincoln County Planning Commission made a recommendation to approve the rezoning with a vote of 8-0 in favor. There is a planning commission resolution that is attached for your review. Also attached to your materials is a Form B that is requested by anybody who wants to rezone a property. They need to give us the reason why they're rezoning the property. And then you have several location maps and a site plan attached to that. Planning staff has no objections to the rezoning since the amendment to the future land use plan has been approved. There is a shortage of housing available in the area, and the applicants are attempting to provide housing for their employees. Again, the surrounding area is generally agricultural in nature and should not be a detriment to the immediate area. If you have any questions, I am happy to help.
So, before we take any testimony from the public, I am going to offer as Exhibit 1 a certified copy of the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan and zoning regulations as kept on file by the county clerk. That way, that's in the record of evidence for the board to consider. And I think Judy has made copies for all of you in the future.
Yes.
We're going to accept that, right, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. You just have to accept the evidence.
And which form is that? Do we have that in front of us?
The certified copy of the comprehensive plan, it's over there.
I see.
It's obviously quite large, and so I can't have one of those in every single file that Judy has to keep forever.
Okay.
That's the idea. So,
I did bring you copies today that
Yes.
I'm sure Becky and Tammy will get
Okay,
handed
so
out
we
to you.
have to,
yeah.
okay, we acknowledge the fact that we accept that information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to testify on behalf or in opposition of the application?
We need to open the hearing.
Did not. Mr. Chairman, did you open the public hearing?
Yes, I open the public hearing.
I don't think it has to be under ooth, Joe.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's being recorded, it's being streamed,
If we-
so.
Sometimes when we're in our judicial shoes, we choose to do that.
I'll do that.
No,
Mr.
that's
Chairman.
fine,
I don't need that.
in case it goes upstairs. Thank you.
Wayne McLean, 20099 North Highway 83, North Platte, Nebraska, president and sole owner and broker of Nebraska Land Brokers. I live a mile and a half south of the proposed rezoning area. Operate my business out of my house and my vehicle there. Should have said this earlier. I want to thank you, commissioners, for the work that you do in serving our county. It's a dedication that has brought great opportunities to our county and our region. Tremendous opportunities ahead of us, and with this, it's you guys are in part, take credit for that. Lincoln County has been designated a livestock-friendly county, and with that, I would suspect that issues that come in front of you as a board of commissioners that affect a county livestock industry would maybe be a favorable approval of any kind of rezoning or not redistricting, but amendments or use permits. Mr. and Mrs. Schultz, I was able to work with them in the late 2000s. I believe it was 2009 is when they actually bought the existing Cattle Growers feed yard. Since then, they have expanded the feed yard to nearly, I believe it's a little over 40,000 head capacity. The employment that they have created for their feed yard has been tremendous. As a citizen and a taxpayer in the Stapleton Public School District, most of which the land that Steve and Tricia own in the three-county area that they operate in, has been a tremendous impact to the Stapleton Public Schools. They actually have a public hearing this evening that I'll speak on the benefit of the budget that they have added, or the benefits that they have added to the budget there. According to the referenced comprehensive plan from 2012 to 2030, there was a section in there where housing was addressed. Housing has been at a shortage in Lincoln County for a considerable amount of time. And with everything that's happening and opportunities that are coming to our region, housing is going to continue to be an issue for Lincoln County and the region. This rezoning is going to add an opportunity for us to address that, and especially for Lincoln County feed yard to be able to address that in that manner. As a neighbor to the proposed rezoning, I speak to you in support of this rezoning in this area, and this was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission last Tuesday. A successful livestock feeding industry needs employees. Employees need housing. What this structure offers is, what this rezoning is going to offer that opportunity for additional housing. I encourage you to vote in favor of this rezoning, and I'm open to any questions.
Any questions from this board?
How many houses were on the market this last month? Do you have any idea?
Sir, I appreciate the question. I specialize in farm and ranch real estate and not residential, but I know that from speaking with residential agents, the number of houses available has historically been very low.
I typically ask questions that I already know the answer to. We had about 63 houses on the market this last month, but it's been averaging this year about 45.
With that being said, back to the comprehensive plan, I recently sat in on another housing study that was currently being completed by the city council, and that commentary was always come to the fact that yes, we are still low on housing.
So I appreciate your remarks that you've made concerning the future trajectory of Lincoln County and the growth that we're experiencing, and the fact that we do have a housing crisis, that it is crisis level. That's all the questions I have.
Any other questions from this board for Mr. McLean? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You here for the public hearing?
No, it's o'clock. Sorry.
We're here for the public hearing.
It's fine, I'll keep it.
Anyone else wish to speak? Would the owner of this property wish to speak at this time?
At this point, the only evidence in front of the board is the comprehensive plan and the testimony of Mr. McLean, and then whatever's written on your application to rezone, so.
Please sign in and state your name.
Steve Scholes. Set a few things straight. We actually had purchased this building back about 2 years ago for construction on the feed yard for a feed truck shed initially. Had not put it up, hadn't really had a good place to put it. Decided we ran into a little bit of a housing crunch lately. Mainly because we'd applied for green card applicants for a couple of the foreman type guys that we had hired, and so they're intending to bring their families over. Currently, those guys live together in different houses in town, whatnot, so it's gonna basically increase our need for housing since they're gonna be family type units, and that's what we intend on putting out there in that area. We retrofitted the building once we had the original floor print, and they added window frames and so on, and then we constructed at that site.
Any questions from this board for Mr. Schultz?
Counselor, if I have a question about future use, is that for the third hearing or this one?
Future use of the structure?
Yes.
That would probably be for the third hearing. This
Okay.
is simply about the rezoning.
Very good.
I appreciate Mr. Schultz's clarification on the building, but we're not there yet.
Okay.
Okay,
This would simply be about your desire to change this from agricultural to residential and the why surrounding that.
So this parcel is on cattle growers.
Correct.
You have a lot of truck traffic on cattle growers. How has the road been holding up?
They've done a good job.
With having, and I'm not gonna get into specifics of the actual project, because that's gonna be reserved for the next public hearing. Multi-use is, I mean, this residential acreage, this residential, R2, urban residential. Do you think that there's gonna be a detriment to the road as far as additional traffic?
I really don't believe, because most of the traffic will come additionally another 1.5 miles down that road anyway, so I don't think there'll be any additional. We're trying to eliminate some commuting, obviously, for employees.
Okay.
any other questions from this board?
I think my question is on the
Third one, okay. Okay, thank you very much for your comment, sir. Anyone else wish to speak in regards to this rezoning of certain land from A1 agricultural district to an R2 urban residential district? Hearing none?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
So at 10:02, 10:03, we have a motion to close this public hearing. Discussion, and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right, this public hearing will be closed.
All right, now it's the board's job to determine whether or not to approve the application based on the evidence in front of you.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve an application by Steve and Teresa Schultz to rezone certain lands from the A1 agricultural district to an R2 urban residential district on property located at 22468 North Cattle Growers Road and described as lying in the northeast quarter of the west half and the southeast quarter of section 27, township 16 north, range 29 west of the 6th PM, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion?
Technically, you will be approving this by passing a resolution changing the zoning, which I have prepared, just a technicality.
And the resolution number is 2023-20.
That's above my pay grade.
It's in our packets.
And as part of my motion, that would be to include resolution 23, or 2023-20.
Is that amendment to his motion favorable to the second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, an amendment to that motion and an amendment to that second as well. Any other discussion?
Only Chairman, my comment, regarding the exchange with Judy about the process. We need to change the process, and by not pushing back, so to speak, as far as the way folks are going about these things, we're not gonna ever change this in the rural area, and we do need to change it. So I am totally sympathetic to the housing thing, and I understand that. And so there are two different things for me. I don't have any issue with providing good housing. That's not my point.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Hughley,
I,
Wheeler,
Aye.
Weems,
No?
Bruns,
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right. So do you have the original? Morning. Okay, we have that resolution signed, so our next public hearing number 3 is to discuss and consider action on the application by Stephen Fisher Schultz for a conditional use permit to allow a multifamily residential structure to house agricultural workers on property located at 22468 North Cattle Growers Road and described as lying in the northeast quarter, west half, and southeast quarter of section 27, township 16 north, range 29 west of the 6th PM, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Okay, and you should have all received a copy of the review comments again, and this is for a conditional use permit on the same property that we have already previously discussed. On September 12th, 2023, Lincoln County Planning Commission made a recommendation to approve the conditional use with no added conditions by a vote in favor of 8-0. The Planning Commission resolution is attached to for your review. Also attached to that again is the Form B, which is the justification as to why they are requesting this conditional use, along with a map of the area, a site plan, and then actually some design plans that were provided by the applicant. Planning staff has no objections to the proposed project if both the amendment and the rezoning have been approved, which they have. The area is agricultural in nature, however, the property's owner intention is to use this multifamily dwelling strictly for agricultural farm workers and should not be a detriment to the surrounding properties. With a conditional use permit, it's very important that the motion has with it a findings of fact. I have put 2 separate motions, a motion positive on there that you are more than welcome to use. It does issue findings of fact related to the Lincoln County zoning regulations, subdivision regulations, and comprehensive plan. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to help.
Okay, so we will open this public hearing at 10:08.
The first thing I will do is offer again Exhibit 1, a certified copy of the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan and zoning regulations as kept on file by the county clerk.
And I will acknowledge that we have received that information.
All right. Anyone would like to testify on behalf or in opposition of the conditional use permit application?
You don't need to sign it again.
I don't?
You wouldn't have to. but
Do
state
you want
your
me to
name.
introduce myself again then?
Please do so.
Dwayne McLean, 20099 North Highway 83, North Platte, Nebraska, president and sole owner and broker of Nebraska Land Brokers. I applaud you for approving the previous 2 agenda items, and I would voice my support for the approval of the conditional use permit that was approved by the Zoning and Planning Commission Board last Tuesday evening. The Lincoln County Feed Yard, Steve and Tricia Schultz, need employees, and they have employees on staff, and they are trying to provide representable housing for them. I would like to see a structure such as the one that is there and to continue the development of that structure as opposed to multiple mobile home or modular homes to be moved in onto that area now that it's been rezoned and considered to be rural residential. I do believe that the opportunity to have a single structure up there with multiple living quarters in that would be much more representable, economic, and a better sight to be seen.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. McLean from this board?
That's an excellent point, thank you.
Any questions?
I have none.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else wish to speak at this public hearing in regarding application for a conditional use permit to allow a multi-family residential structure to house agricultural workers? Rose, would you like to speak on this behalf? State your name again, please.
Steve Scholes. I'd like to mimic Mr. McLean's testimony as well. I mean, obviously, we are in a housing crunch. My other options are manufactured housing of some sort, which I'm not particularly fond of, and I don't think the neighborhood necessarily would be either. That's my intention of asking that you guys let us continue further development of the property we own. And I actually, I'll get with Judy to make sure that we got any other issues put to bed that we already had contentions with, so.
And you understand that the permit would have been a good idea first,
Obviously.
okay? Well,
And we waive any, you know, if there's anything that neighboring parties want to need us to sign off on, I'm perfectly willing and happy to
and
test
you-
anything. so.
And you will work closely with the planning commission
Correct.
administrator to make sure that all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any questions from this board?
I have a question, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Again, I understand your problem, your challenge, and I'm sympathetic to it. Have you thought about when Steve's no longer around, is this parcel, could this somehow end up in third-party hands that would turn into a rural apartment building or something of that nature? I think there's some concern maybe about that.
I have thought about that. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, we don't have any intentions of growing larger. I'm done with that part. We're trying to actually streamline our operation a little bit. I will say, just in my acquisition of this place or any other feed yard, you know, I've looked at lots of different places before we ever moved here. Usually any land base that's connected with a feed yard, somebody will acquire that owns a feed yard just because that's important to them as well for nutrient management plans and for crop size. I don't, you know, we do have a succession plan in place for my family if something does happen to me. That is in place, but we intend on operating. My son's graduated from high school now, going through college. I mean, there's, obviously, he can't do it alone, but we do have a group of people set in place if something would happen to me that would be advisory people for him to continue the operation on, so.
Okay, thank you, that's good, that's very informative. To echo the chairman's comment, you know, this is a fundamental protest, not you.
Yes, I
Okay,
realize. I
it's a
appreciate it.
countywide thing, we keep talking about this, we're gonna strengthen this, we've got people that put garages on neighbors' property and right away,
I
you know,
understand.
all over the county, because people, just like you and I'm a rural guy and I'm guilty as charged historically, but moving forward, we have to get better at this, we have to know the process and go through the proper steps, and that's my thing. That's
Yes,
what I'm-
sir. I
okay?
understand.
It's not about you.
Yeah, I
Because I
understand.
have complimented you publicly
Well, thank
about the
you.
way you run your operation, and I sincerely mean that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, would you tell me a little bit, the board, a little bit more about the specifics of the project that you're looking to accomplish? We
So
have schematics and
the
stuff in
building's
front of us.
5,000 square feet. It was designed as 2 levels. We have to add the outdoor entrances to the top level yet. They're not in. If this go ahead and passes for fire code. We retained a architect to work with to do that. The septic system obviously has to have a DEQ permit because of the size, and Operaly's working with that, and TSC Engineering, I think, here locally in town.
TC Engineering.
TC Engineering, and it requires a 3,000 gallon septic system. The domestic well, we actually had drilled before the building structure went up, so it's already there. Other than that, I guess, I don't know, I got, the original unit was designed as 4 upper 3-bedroom units and 3 lower 3-bedroom units. We might actually split 1 or 2 of the upstairs ones and actually keep a single room there that I can utilize on nights when we're unloading cattle or late harvest at night to stay up there as well. So we might have a couple 1 or 2 bedroom deals upstairs in one of the units, so.
And you had mentioned this is primarily for employees to be able to have their families join them?
Exclusively, yes. There's a couple guys that are single that don't have families that won't be, but they will be utilizing the 1 or 2 bedroom units, the 1 or 2 that we'll have.
Any other questions for Mr. Schultz from this board?
And you're gonna be building this to state code? The county doesn't have a building inspector. There may be a conversation that we need to have in the future. But we do fall underneath of the state as far as the requirements for making sure that the structures are sound and built to safety specifications, so you'll be following all of that
Correct.
to a T?
Any other questions for Mr. Schultz? Thank you.
Steve, I've been up to your feedlot many times over the years. My impression is that you are a great steward of your property. You take great pride in maintaining and improving when and where you can. Is it safe to assume that you will also have those standards for this building off your property?
Correct. I mean, we'll obviously vet who I put in there. I mean, this is gonna cost a fairly decent sum of money, and I'm not just gonna let anybody go into it. And there's obviously employees that we try to keep a better track on, that we keep close to the feed yard into places that we can watch. But this is almost entirely family type housing.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Schultz? Steve, thank you very much for your information. Judy, would you come up, please, again?
My question is for Judy. What are the ramifications if we don't approve this portion?
Well, and then you're gonna have a structure up there that he will either need to tear down, discontinue use as residential, which would mean he would have to take out anything residential related. He could use it as an agricultural building because that would be permitted, but you've already just changed this rezoning to residential, so now his agricultural building wouldn't be able to be on there in the current zone. So it would, yeah, kind of mess it up a little bit. More than likely, his option would be tear it down or move it to a different piece of the property.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Judy Clark? Thank you. Anybody, is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak at this public hearing where we are considering a conditional use permit to allow a multifamily residential structure to house agricultural workers? Anyone else wish to speak at this public hearing? I would welcome a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, move to close the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion to close the public hearing and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Bruns?
Aye.
Wheeler?
Aye.
Hughley?
Aye.
Weems?
Aye.
Woodruff?
Aye. Okay, so at 10:19, we will close this public hearing, and we have an action in front of us. Is this a resolution, or is this
It's the
motion?
motion that Judy provided you with. Either way, either form of her motion comes with some very specific things that I really need you to say, because those are the basic findings of fact. which you have to present to the applicant when you make a determination.
And we can make any additional documentation or evidence as we feel necessary, correct?
Since you're asked, Mr. Chairman, yes, you can put additional conditions on this so long as they're reasonable. What is reasonable is pretty broad. Yes, those are things that you can do.
Okay, colleagues?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the conditional use application by Steve and Tricia Scholes for a conditional use permit to allow a multifamily residential structure to house agriculture workers on property located at 22468 North Cattle Growers Road, as described as lying in the northeast quarter, west half, and southeast quarter of Section 27, Township 16, north, Range 29 west of the 6 p.m. Lincoln County, Nebraska, more particularly described on the map attached to meeting materials, and all elements of the application are complied, and based on the following factual findings to wit: the application complies with current Lincoln County zoning regulations. The application complies with current Lincoln County subdivision regulations. The application is in conformance with the current Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan and Lincoln County zoning map.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the application as stated.
Second.
And we have a second. Is there any discussion?
I suppose that my only point, and I understand that as soon as the applicant realized that there was a need for an application for conditional land use and going through this process, that once he figured that out, he did take steps appropriately and immediately to rectify the situation. But I do want to make a point for those out there in the county that may be considering a project. I have a feeling I know how the vote is going to go on this. We may be lenient in this circumstance, but I don't know that we'll be lenient in future circumstances should something like this happen again. And it's very important we have a process that is very, very clearly laid out, and it's there for a reason, for the safety, welfare, and well-being of those in Lincoln County. And we take that very, we don't take that lightly. I mean, it's an extremely important job that we have, and we have these regulations for a reason. So just making sure that that is clearly, hopefully reported to the public, and that this situation is mitigated from happening again in the future.
Good points. I would hope for the same. And we'll expect to see that in print. That's an affirmative. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Bruns,
Aye.
Hughley,
Aye.
Weems,
Aye.
Woodruff.
Aye.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have anything we need to sign or finish up on that?
No, Judy has.
Judy has what she needs to have? Okay, great. Thank you all. Okay. It is time for our next agenda item, correct?
Please.
Our next agenda item is to discuss and consider authorizing the chairman to sign an annual lease for a skid steer for the Lincoln County Building and Grounds Department. And yes, I do have that here in hand.
Yes.
I lost my marker.
Sorry.
No, it's Monday.
So please, if you would state your name and sign in for us, please.
Booker Boyer, Director of Lincoln County Building and Grounds.
Good morning, Booker.
Good morning, sir.
put in front of you a little too soon, and I apologize. A bid for a skid steer from Bobcat. What I do know about this is they did offer training that we talked about in prior conversation, that we will be taking up their offer if we go with this company. I gave you bids prior to this to Titan. This was the lower bid.
This machine would be, if we should approve this, where would this be stored?
Over in our shop, in between the library and the sheriff's office. I think it'll make us more efficient, time-wise, snow removal. I think it'll help us get some of the berm off of the street that the city plows up on emergency situations where people ain't trying to step over it. I'm hoping to hold back some injuries from slips with it. I know it's gonna save us money in the long run on ice melt, because we can get better close to the concrete. And I think it'll save a lot of hard feelings after a 5-day blizzard. A little bit on the shovel wise, so.
Is this a wheel or a track machine?
Track.
Track machine. Tyler, does it look as though you've satisfied, of course, we're not purchasing it, so that,
It's a lease, so.
it's a lease, so.
I'm not concerned about county purchasing. I'm not entirely sure what you're signing on.
This is a
Quote.
quote.
Page 2 indicates, under the notes, identifies that a one-year lease is $4,500 with the 250-hour limit and $25 an hour if they exceed 250 hours in that year. And the requirement to insure the unit for $61,000. The leases that I've participated in, and I've participated in a number of them, all enumerate the value of the machine when you lease it. Each and every one of them. They identify the value of the machine.
I think that's on the first page.
Yeah,
Is it?
but I'm
Okay.
explaining it to Tyler why there's all that verbiage on the front page about
Oh.
purchasing. And then on the second page, is where they get down to the brass tacks and they identify what it's gonna cost you to rent or lease the machine.
And that is by far the shortest lease I've ever read there. All they gave you were.
Yes, Tyler, that's what they gave me.
Wow, okay. So I have no idea if we can break the lease, how much it costs us if we do, if we buy the machine, if I have to litigate this in the country of Aruba.
Well, it doesn't say you can't break the lease, so we haven't signed anything said it.
This might be a little open-ended for my preference. It's appears to be a local company. And so,
We also lease a Bobcat for the county road department. Is the lease,
Ours is actually through Titan at the moment, but we have been through Bobcat as well, and ours is very similar.
Very similar.
Short like that, yeah.
Booker, my question is, you will have a training program, they're gonna work with you, and then you will work with anybody from the
Yeah.
building and grounds that will
Yeah,
be running it,
We're gonna be a little limited on who runs it too, so,
and where it's used
and
at.
where it's used at.
Well, since council is a little bit concerned about the vagueness, I would be cautionary and say the only way I'd vote to approve this lease is with an agreement that the council will weigh in and get some clarification that we're not actually signing up to buy the unit.
Okay.
Is there a deadline for that?
Because he's the attorney.
No, but I sure can get one, and I can try to clarify that with Brandon.
So I mean, I just had a couple questions. I know I was dealing with a death in the family last week. I missed last week. I know there was a workshop that this particular item was discussed. Budget hasn't been finalized. I expect that we're gonna do that, work on publishing today, and then next week, we'll actually go through and have our public hearing for finalizing our budget. Does it make sense if we table this for a
Yeah,
week
that's
to
fine.
allow an opportunity to see if there is a more detailed lease that would
Yes.
alleviate concerns from legal counsel? And we can have this once the budget is completely finalized.
Probably won't have snow in this next week anyway.
I
So
will
probably okay.
go get a better lease agreement from the company. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very
Booker,
much.
as a clarification of that, you've included this amount in your budget that
Yes.
we're looking at, so that should help that.
Penciled in.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you, Joe.
It was discussed, I guess.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
sir. Okay, we will table that till next week, hopefully. Next item on our agenda is to discuss and consider loaning Lincoln County ARPA funds to the Nebraska Inland Port of the Plains Port Authority. Sir, would you sign in and state your name, please?
No problem. Good morning, Commissioners. Vince Dugan for the Inland Port Board of Directors.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning.
And how are you today?
Doing fine. Yourself?
Okay, very good. Pleased to report that things are coming along nicely for the inland port. However, we're starting at zero, and many of us, all of us, have not been on an inland port authority before. The biggest thing that I want to make sure is that when it is time to act, that we're ready to go. And as I think most of you know, we just started 2 months ago. So we have to do some organizational items, and right now we don't have access to any funds. So what we're here, the board has authorized me to seek up to $75,000 in a loan from the commission, from the ARPA funds. And what we're going to do with that money, first of all, we're not going to just spend that money, but that's, so we have money, so we can do two things. One is organize, form our structure. One of the things that is a little bit cumbersome right now is that we are a pseudo-governmental entity, and we need to make sure that whatever structure, bylaws that we form are satisfactory under Nebraska statutes, and we do not have experience with that. So we want to engage an attorney that does have experience with that, or at least experience in that area of the law. That's one use of the funds. And the second is, last meeting, we had a consultant and a representative of Union Pacific there. We talked a lot about what's going to be the sweet spot for the inland port, and what type of activities will be successful in terms of generating revenue, and then also what type of revenue streams that we can expect. And as everyone may imagine, we do not know at this point exactly what's what. So we also need to engage a consultant. So that is what we intend to use the money for. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, boy, I can hardly wait.
Let's bring them. I will do my very best to answer them.
Mr. Chairman Dugan, where does the inland port stand with their loan/grant from the state of Nebraska for their startup funds?
Well, right now, we haven't even formulated. So, we very much want to submit an application, and on the list of items to do, that is certainly very high on the list of items to do. But, we're going from, 0 to 65 miles an hour immediately. And to me,
That's not even takeoff speed, Minnie.
not rotating
Lower
yet.
time notes, yeah.
But, I have quite a bit of familiarity with how airports run, and there are some similarities, there's no question about it. But I think that what concerns me more than anything is making sure that we move with some degree of speed. There are a number of entities across this country that are forming inland ports. And I don't think there's any benefit to being slow on this. And to me, what I've told the board, and what I'll tell you is, I do not want to be in a scenario where it's time to act, and we can't act because we have not crossed all the Ts and dotted all the Is. So the most important thing to me right now is to make sure we get our structure formed. And, you know, I am a licensed attorney, but I know nothing about these type of structures for a, you know, I mean, this is a governmental type entity without taxing authority. I'm not exactly sure how it needs to be formed. I want to make sure that when we do the bylaws, we don't make a mistake that'll come back and hurt us later. I think that in the end, we're likely to need two types of attorneys. One local that will help us with matters relating to real estate and things of that nature. And then also one from probably the state capital or the eastern part of the state that has experience in bylaws and structures for governmental entities or pseudo-governmental entities like the inland port. But I think we need to move. I think we need to move quickly and not with, you know, we need to move quickly, but carefully. Okay, but I don't think there'll be any benefit for us to be slow on this. And I don't really think we can do much until we have got our federal identification number. We have set up a bank account. You know, we've done these type of things, but I think when it is time for us to have an anchor tenant consider the inland port, we want to make sure we're ready. And that's why I'm here seeking these funds.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
May I
to,
follow up on that?
I was gonna go right directly to your question. that you
Better
had.
yet, do it.
Okay. Your question concerned where are we at as far as the application for, I believe, the Department of Economic Development's Site and Building Development Fund sub-account funding.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Over the past couple months, I've had numerous conversations with the governor's office and with the ED. There was a hiccup on where that approval process was. We've sorted through that a couple weeks ago, and in that process, those conversations, it was relayed to me that the use of those funds would be very narrow. I had several conversations with Vince and other board members for the Port Authority, as well as the other port authority in the state of Nebraska in Fremont, Dodge County. We relayed those concerns in the conversations with the governor's team. They listened to it, and they have expanded the allowable uses for those funds. They've, in the past couple weeks, released guidance for applications to utilize those funds by the two ports that are in existence to date. As part of the application process for that funding, the port authorities have to have a 5-year plan. A 5-year plan can only be, from what we have discussed and derived, we need a consultant to help derive that 5-year strategic plan. They also need a copy of their bylaws as part of that application to tap into that funding from DED. Those bylaws, as Chairman Dugan for the Port Authority has correctly laid out, is going to require some legal guidance. So we have a few things that are needed that are going to require funding that need to happen prior to the Port Authority actually being able to apply for the funding from the state of Nebraska for the Site and Building Development Sub-account.
Read that same stuff, and that's exactly what I wanted you to say. That's what I wanted to hear. Answers my question.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I agree with Commissioner Bruns, and there's a whole litany of things that we want to do, but we've got to have the right structure in place. And right now, you know, well, I mean, we have a lot of ideas as exactly how it should be, but I just don't want to make a mistake on this. The two things that I would like to convey to the commissioners is that A, we want to be ready, and B, we want to make sure that we structure it properly from day one. So that's why we need these funds, so that we can engage appropriate legal counsel, and that also we can engage a consultant, because there's a variety of things about how we're going to do this revenue stream and the type of action, the type of products we want to go after.
Question that I have, acquiring these funds, startup funds, if you will, not having a structure in place, does that preclude you from going to a lending institution that is in the business of loaning money versus the county commissioner board?
I do not know the answer to that. I do
Yeah.
know that we have begun a relationship with, a local bank, okay? And that, I don't know if we would be precluded from borrowing money at this point. I suspect they would be a lot happier if we had our structure in place.
Mr. Chairman, state statute authorizes the Port Authority to borrow funding. My concern with that option is there is no revenue structure or mechanism in place to date, and that is probably a year and a half, 2 years out before this entity is able to start bringing in revenue. And I don't know of any commercial lending organization that would allow that kind of leeway before payments would need to be starting to be had on that debt.
Yeah, I would echo what Commissioner Bruns is saying, and I would say, our mission here is that we want to create a structure that will generate revenue and will benefit the county overall, and we want to make sure we know how to do it. And, the mechanisms by which we charge to users of the inland port, and also we want to create jobs.
Mr. Chairman, I would also point out our ARPA committee, Commissioner Hughley and myself, back when we first got these funds and we were earmarking and discussing appropriate use for the funds. Some of that's changed over the past couple of years, but we did, so to date, we've expended about $4.75 million for the use of economic development, which is what we had earmarked approximately $5.2 million for. With the understanding that it was likely going to go toward this overall project. 70,000, 75,000, whatever's being requested by the Port Authority is a far cry from realizing that whole $5.2 million. And I think that as we discussed in the committee and brought it forward to the board, I believe May 23rd of last year, that amount, I think it's an appropriate use for them to be requesting these funds, knowing that it's a loan and that once they do have revenue, that this money would end up coming back to the county.
Yeah, the board of the inland port has authorized me to request $75,000, so that is my request today.
Question for Tyler, is it appropriate for this board to loan those ARPA funds in this manner?
There are provisions in the treasury regs for the ARPA funds for local political subdivisions to loan them. So, yes. you can do that.
Super.
So of the 5.2, is that what we had total, and we spent 475?
Correct.
Okay, so we have less than, okay, I'm with you. I'm just doing the math, so thank you. And have you thought about any loan terms? Your committee talked about any kind of a loan terms or time-wise or anything like that? Or is
Well,
it
the
too
five-year
early?
plan is something that we have to create as well. And we're not capable, or I would say experienced enough to be able to create a five-year plan without the assistance of a consultant. That would be very unrealistic. So that's another thing we need to get going on. And then what I return to is my desire and the desire of the board is to make this self-sufficient and make sure that we understand the types of revenue streams that we'll have. We've already been talking about, do we charge per pound? Do we charge per, unit? Do we charge per rail car? And we're gonna have to figure all that out. And then we have discussions regarding, inland port director. There's so many things that we understand are gonna have to be tackled, but we need to understand what's appropriate for this type entity.
Okay, this loan would be a document that you would construct for us, is that correct, Tyler?
Ultimately, yes.
if we should approve this, correct? Okay.
And to that question, or to that point, the question would be, do we run into any snags on the tail end of this if we give it a longer term versus when the program's typically done on ARPA, or once we move it out?
Loading the funds will actually encumber them.
Okay.
When they come back, they will come back as ARPA funds will come back, as general funds.
General funds, yes. And I also know from attending the meeting, the Port Authority appropriately requests that they can have funds to travel, to do some firsthand inspection of some of these facilities. And I don't think they've identified where maybe they want to go yet, but as part of that process, that's going to take some dollars as well, up front.
Thank you, Commissioner Weems, and that is correct. And we want to travel to inland ports that are similarly situated. I mean, we already understand, and again, I don't want to bore everybody to death, but transmodal is going to be more appropriate or more likely for us than intermodal. So we want to go to facilities that are somewhat similar, preferably in relatively near us geographically, so we can get there, without too much expense.
Okay. Colleagues, any other questions for Mr. Dugan?
Vince, agree with your assessment. Having a good foundation is always the best way to start a new company. And so I agree with that. As far as the shovel-ready part of it, I think we've all witnessed here in Lincoln County what happens when you're not ready to go. When a company is looking at you, having everything in order. So I absolutely agree with that, those two items. Commissioner Bruns, the last time we had this discussion, I did ask if anybody had explored if the other entities who stand to benefit from the Inland Port Authority had any appetite for helping with this financial request?
The mechanisms that the other political subdivisions have in place, I believe that the city of North Platte is allocating $2 million over 10 years of quality growth funds toward the Port Authority / Industrial Rail Park development, the overall project. The village of Hershey, just quite frankly, fiscally can't do much in that regard, but they are going to be assisting with tax increment financing, and they've been good partners to date for the overall development, knowing that this is going to tremendously benefit them in a positive way moving forward. Really, the only mechanism for funding, for seed funding, if you will, for this organization to get up and going are these dollars. I've explored and exhausted my efforts looking for this and everything else. This is the most readily available, most appropriate dollars that do exist. And like I said, we already had a set dollar amount kind of earmarked for this project, and this falls below that
Fits in that
threshold.
picture.
Exactly.
Very good. Thank you for the explanation.
Any other questions for Vince?
One last comment. I would just encourage the Port Authority Board to look at, because this is a very finite, limited amount of money. That's not gonna go very far, as you well know. I mean, one good study, you can spend that. I mean, is to try to get your initial organization up and going, to try to apply for these grant funds that I understand now that some people in the governor's office realize the importance of making that a little easier in that process, and that we get those, and I know you're aware of all that. That's only my comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Hughley, I agree with you 100%. The funding mechanism opened on September 11th, and we've got to get all this stuff organized so we can seek these funds. And as far as I know, there's 2 entities that can seek these funds, and we want to get on top of it. And right now, what I will say, as long as I'm the chairman, we are going to do things correctly, and we're going to move with dispatch, and we're going to do things timely. So,
We're
that's
pleased,
what I'm here for.
we're pleased to hear that. We're pleased with, from everything that I've seen, and I know that my colleagues have expressed this to me. We're very pleased with the individuals that are serving on that board and their commitment to doing things right and doing things in a manner that sets us in a competitive position, so.
Thank you for your work and thank you for the information you presented. Colleagues, I would welcome a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we authorize our deputy county attorney to draft a loan document for us to review and authorize at our next meeting, or at least consider at our next meeting, that would provide Lincoln County ARPA funding to the Nebraska International Port of the Plains Port Authority in the amount of $75,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Somebody gonna tell me what the term is and are we charging them interest?
I would recommend zero interest to be paid back once the Port Authority is starting to bring in revenue. I don't know when that date is gonna be, so that's the hanging question out there.
Well, down the road, I don't know if that's a legal term, but, we are gonna need some time to get moving on this. It would be unrealistic for us to have to start paying it back before we get any funding from other sources or we start to generate revenue. So I don't know how you.
Can we put a 4-year time horizon on there, knowing that worst case scenario, we have to amend that, the terms?
You're gonna have to approve the actual document itself next week, so maybe I'll just find something creative.
Okay.
Down the road may or may not appear in that version.
Yeah.
I mean, if we put a time structure in there, we can always extend
Exactly.
it, correct?
Exactly.
We got the down the road language from the eastern part of the state lawyers, from the fancy lawyers.
The only comment I would make is that we've had a pretty astute, big oil guy from down Texas as an attorney on the other side. I would just ask that our legal counsel be just as sharp on his end of that loan documentation. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Bruns,
Aye.
Hughley,
All right.
Weems,
Aye.
Wheeler,
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right. Thank you, Vince.
No,
All right, thank you for your time today. I
Obviously,
appreciate it.
Thank you
Mr.
for all your investment.
Deputy County Attorney, you're gonna need people to work with. The chairman's already had, as I understand, or has been a committee, so I know that process will work out well before it comes back to the board.
Great. Okay, next item on our agenda, discuss and consider adoption of signing resolution number 2023-19 for the agreement concerning the statewide stop sign program. Yes, sir.
Hi again, Jason Schultz, Lincoln County Highway Superintendent. So this is our program agreement for the stop sign program that we submitted the application for and was accepted with the state. So this program, I guess, just quickly is a upgrade to existing facilities that we have. So it's upgrading our signage and adding stop ahead signs at a lot of locations as well on interfaces with paved traffic that does not stop. So, so it's a great program. It's a zero cost up front for us. We do have to install the signage. But as far as all the materials, it's all 100% funded. It's a federal program that the state is actually running with. So this is the program agreement for that to receive. It's about 169 signs in total with posts, reflective strips. So it's stop signs and stop ahead signs to be installed over the course of the next year.
Okay.
I think it's a great program, plus it's going to allow us to really build our inventory as far as our posts and signs go as well. So I think initially it's about $20,000 worth of signs, a little over.
Perfect. And when would this begin? Should we
The
approve
orders are in, so as soon as we get this executed, then I think they'll be released, and then we don't have the timing yet, because it is a large order, it's a statewide program, so we don't have an idea yet of when we'll receive them, but I would expect this fall or early winter sometime.
You're receiving a product, not a cash payment.
Yes,
So-
yep, we're just receiving the product.
Okay, great.
It looks like in the paperwork, it says, June 30th, 2025 is the estimated deadline to have it, them
Yeah,
all
to have everything
installed. So that
installed.
gives your crews plenty of time to get out. and
Yep.
Get them
And then we
installed.
just need to submit a certification that it was completed to the state whenever we're done installing everything, so.
Very good.
Am I seeing this correctly, that there's both an application that needs to be signed by?
A resolution
County.
authorizes him to sign.
So I'm seeing two different documents here. I'm seeing a resolution, and I'm also seeing an application that needs to be signed by,
The resolution states that it authorizes the chairman to sign. I just read that.
The Department of Transportation does a signing resolution.
Okay.
All their documents.
And how many signs
Maybe I'm
is that gonna
wrong.
be? You said you,
I think in total, it's
100
169, I believe.
I just see
You
the
know-
last page is a resolution where we all sign, and then a few pages before that, there's an application that is signed by the chairman of the board.
Right.
So do we need two separate motions
No.
for this?
That's a state thing.
Okay.
They've made us do that
I
before.
was just seeking clarification.
So it's resolution number 2023-19.
correct?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt and sign resolution number 2023-19 for the agreement concerning the statewide stop sign program.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes. I would like to state again that the resolution states in the resolution, be it resolved by the County Board of Commissioners that the chair of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners hereby be authorized to sign the attached project program agreement between Lincoln County and the NDOT.
So should I amend my motion?
I don't know, that's just what I
No,
was
I
saying.
think you're fine. Any other discussion?
I did misstate that. There's 139 signs total.
139.
Yeah, there's actually 71 different packages that are, some of them are two, most of them are two signs apiece, but
I see.
it's 139 total.
Sounds great, sounds great. Any other discussion?
Thank you, Joe.
Roll call, please.
Wheeler.
Aye.
Weems.
Aye.
Hughley.
Aye.
Bruns.
Aye.
Woodruff.
All right. Can I see that document?
Thank you.
Headed your way.
First, I'm gonna sign the one that we signed, and then I'll hand them all down. You'll have to sign in both places, then there's a separate one, a big thick one for you, Jerry.
Okay. Here you go. Let's go back, you please. Okay. Okay, next agenda item is an update by Brandon Myers, Region 51 Emergency Management Director, concerning the evacuation on September 14, 2023.
I just motioned him to come on in.
Good morning. Yes, sir. Would you please come forward, sign in and state your name, please?
Brandon Myers, Director of Region 51 Emergency Management.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Brandon.
Mr. Chairman, I asked for Brandon to come in and provide this update for the events that happened this last week. concerning the rail car fire that occurred out at Bailey Yard. I had an opportunity to be out there on site with Brandon and saw a few things that kind of raised my eyebrow, some things that gave me pause as far as response. I would note that I am extremely pleased with our first responders, North Platte Fire, Emergency Management, the Nebraska State Patrol, North Platte PD, and our Sheriff's Office, and how they executed our plans for the county dealing with this emergency situation. I cannot say enough good things about the professionals that were out there responding to this. But overall, I think that we have some room for improvement, particularly when it comes to working with our partners at Bailey Yard. And so I asked Brandon to come in and provide us an update, because I have some questions personally, and I think that this is probably going to be the first of a few conversations.
Okay, sounds great. Brandon, we'll turn this over to you. Can you describe the events that occurred that day and some of the responses that you have in that regard?
Yeah. Hopefully pictures come up.
Yeah, well, pictures always help.
That one's not even on. This one's on, that one's not.
Okay, so why,
Yes, one of both will be available for March. I have to take a picture.
There it goes.
That's that one.
We can, yeah, we can go.
No, I can't get through.
Appreciate it.
You're just gonna look at that TV.
What I'll start with is, what I handed you guys was, just kind of our preliminary kind of rundown of timeline events, plus the ERG on, the chemical. Biggest takeaway is on this map. This was roughly the area we're looking at. Where the arrow is, where the fire was, the rail car fire. And then you
our
can
upper
see,
left-hand corner?
yeah. Where the
Right
cursor
where the
is,
little
where the cursor is.
the little triangle.
So it was not in a very populated area, thankfully. But we still had, residents that were out in that area within even our, evacuation area that we put out. Timeline that I've got is at 12:04 on Thursday, September 14th, was our first 911 call of a rail car on fire. It was reported that there was hazardous materials in the area, but it was unknown at the beginning if that car had hazardous materials on it. And the caller reported no injuries. Same caller, rail car that's on fire is exploding. At 12:06, North Platte Fire was paged out, and they were told to meet a UP employee at Taft Building on Highway 30, and they would be directed into where this was.
Was the initial call come in from the railroad?
What's that?
Did the initial call come in from the railroad?
Yes.
Thank you.
We had reports that couldn't see because of the thick black smoke. At 12:07, a citizen had called in about large sonic boom and lots of smoke from the UP rail yard. By 12:09, North Platte 7, which is the battalion chief for North Platte on that day, had responded out there, was on scene, and had made the decision that coming in from the Taft Building area was not gonna be suffice for this, and told additional units that were responding they needed to go Front Street to North Front Road and come in off Birdwood there. That's where the best access was from them.
Was that because of the direction of the wind too?
The direction of the wind and even just being able to get to the rail car from the direction they were first gonna come in. There was a lot more tracks to try and cross anyways, but the big was the direction of wind. The wind was blowing north at that time. I know that requests were put out to close Highway 30 because of this smoke. Let's see, bring up some other pictures. One I wanted to point out was, when we talked about our evacuation of this area, on this map, it shows up again.
IT is working on it right now, so, hold that thought. Oh, it doesn't look like a, oh, there we go.
While you're holding that thought, Brandon, did I see in the report you used a drone?
Yes, we put the
You put your
drone
drone
up.
up right away?
Yes. That was to kind of get a little more advantage for North Platte Fire, kind of see what they were dealing with. The other thing that we found out was there was also a grass fire that was initiated by this, right next to all that. So especially with that rail car on fire, previously exploding, we wanted eyes in the air to be able to monitor that while the firemen on the ground were trying to put that grass fire out so they could then start working on what they need to do for the rail car. This picture here shows from the fire to the edge of city limits, which is on Lakeview, is about 2.78 miles. And then the fire to, and that one doesn't want to work. Fire to Golden Spike, we were looking at 1.8 something miles in distance. So, this is a thermal image from that drone to show you how hot that rail car was. It's pretty hot.
Wow. That thing's glowing.
What you call red hot on the middle,
What's that?
what you would call red hot on the middle.
Yeah,
So this container was on the lower level and another container was on top?
was sitting on top. So it,
Which,
the lower level is the one that had the chemicals in it.
okay, what was in the upper?
That I wasn't quite sure, so I'm not gonna say. I heard a couple different things, but it wasn't what was our main concern, which was the,
Pardon, yes, sir.
I was with the special agents, the upper one was a mixed load, and the mixed load, they don't specify each item in there. It was kind of the same
Yeah,
one.
Dwayne, Jerome, would you please come up? I had a request that we get this recorded. My concern is it would have been very useful information to know exactly what was in every container that was in the vicinity. But you say that in that type of a load, that's not possible, correct?
Well, they knew, they called Cheyenne and they called someplace else, and the results they got back was it was mixed load, and the manifest does not specify what's in those. When they're mixed, it was headed to Singapore was all that I knew from talking to the agents.
But if it would have been something that was of a toxic nature, would that have been noted or not?
I don't know if it was a mixed load, it may not be.
How long did it take us to find out what was in the bottom container for chloric acid?
the official that I've got for timeline on here, 12:32 dispatch, it was reported dispatch that it was the pyruvic acid. But on dispatch timeline 2 at 12:33, they were also told that the train was full of batteries.
Okay, so there was some confusion on what
So
was
there
being
was
reported.
confusion. I know that, what North Platte Fire, and they were, the main attack team was on the south side of the tracks where they actually had UP officials there. So they were kind of getting a little better information. But even where, on the north side where we were flying the drone and where North Platte 7 was initially, that information was getting kind of confusing of which one are we actually dealing with.
That's one of my many concerns that I have, is it took nearly a half an hour for us to even find out what was burning. So you have a fire with smoke that's burning for 30 minutes to this point, and we don't
Yeah.
know if we need to evacuate people. We ended up evacuating people out of their homes.
Yes.
I mean, this is a serious situation that we had to deal with. And I think that that's a shortcoming. And I'm not saying it's your fault or anybody in emergency management's fault, or first responders. And I know dispatch, I'm sure dispatch was pressuring what's in the containers, what is burning. But these are the types of questions that I have that I'd like to seek answers moving forward.
I'm gonna say between, first responders on scene, our dispatch, the EOC was opened up. Joanna, my assistant, was in there working with, North Platte Fire, trying to get information out, we even opened up 2 shelters, one at Salvation Army, one, in, at the Legion Hall.
This is your drone footage?
Yes,
Sorry to
this is
interrupt.
drone footage for me. So, I mean, yeah, it was a lot of coordination, a lot of work on trying to figure out what our boundaries were for an evacuation in a safe zone.
And
The sheet-
that goes to the number one question I have. How can we put a boundary or a zone when we don't know what's in that smoke?
When North Platte Fire was confident of what they were looking at, that's what they went with.
Okay.
And that was that, prolylic acid.
Okay.
So, and from there, what they did is they went off the ERG, the Emergency Response Guide. And, I even highlighted on the front page in yellow for a fire in a container like this. Minimum is half-mile evacuation area for this.
So I'm seeing in this drone footage to the left, is that the grass fire you're talking about?
That's the grass fire that they had to initially, work on before they could even determine and decide what they were gonna do for the rail car on fire.
And then the two trains that are lined up on the right side
This
toward the end
is where the train car, the rail car's on fire,
Okay.
where the cursor is. They had to figure out how to get this car safely out of the way, that whole line.
What's the distance between those because that indicates a fairly large blast.
Yes. I'm not exactly sure on distance. But I do know State Fire Marshal, about right where the cursor is, found one of the lids for one of the 55-gallon drums.
Well,
Brandon, anything that requires placarding identifies its basic chemical characteristics and.
Problem at this point, can't get close enough to see that
To see what the
placarding if there
placard
is
is.
any. And actually, at this point, it was gone.
The placard was
Yeah.
blown away.
If it wasn't blown off, it was consumed by fire because that metal was, the second container, we thought at first blew off of it. It was actually on top and had crushed the bottom because the bottom had melted, bottom container.
in my dealings with hazardous materials at my career, whenever we loaded anything that was labeled with any kind of hazardous material, there are multiple copies of that label that you pull, and one of them should be left with, clerks
Yeah.
that can log all that. One we gave to our driver, and one went in the back of the trailer. I understand it's a lot different with trains, but don't they have a similar?
They're supposed to, yes.
Okay,
Well, I can't answer for them on that.
okay.
The only thing I can answer is this was a line of cars being put back together to go out.
So the manifest may not
manifest-
have been built yet.
May not have been proper yet, I don't know.
So
But
that-
again, that's not an area I can really answer for.
So that leads to other questions that I have, which I don't know that you're the appropriate one to answer this, but it's my understanding that this car was listed as do not hump, and this stretch of cars were humped. And so we have 56 gallons roughly of chloric acid. They were in a car that wasn't supposed to be humped, they were humped, and that's what really led, I mean, the investigative report from the FRA is gonna come out, we'll know for sure definitively.
The report we've got was there was 50 drums, or 50 barrels of 55 gallons worth of this in there.
And that
Now,
car
was-
that car
was-
humped at roughly 5:30 that morning.
So, was there leakage of the perchloric acid liquid?
That's a possibility, yeah. Whether it was,
You would assume, because perchloric acid, the only time it really becomes volatile, based on my research, is when it comes in contact with organic matter.
Yes.
So like the pallets that it was sitting on. There had to have been some kind of a crack in that barrel that it was in, based
say,
on the
even
jar.
on the ERG, it says no wood, no cloths, no anything for cleanup. So,
Okay.
Continue on, sir.
I do know, some of the concern, about when rave alerts went out. Dispatch put the very first rave alert on evacuations at 12:30 PM. So, 26 minutes after their first 911 call, a rave alert went out for the specific area of Splinter Road to North Front Road, Front Street, a mile north. That was the evacuation zone. That's what we were going off of with the ERG. What they kind of assumed was the chemical before they were able to confirm for sure. But they went a mile. ERG says half mile. They went a mile of evacuation to be safe.
Okay.
And that's a mile. The ERG basically says a mile all the way, or a half mile all the way around. So they really stressed the point of, because the wind was blowing out of the north, we wanted a mile of that to the north.
It was blowing out of the south towards the north.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see.
Who made the report that that train or that container, I'm guessing, was full of batteries?
That I'm not sure. Dispatch didn't even put it down on their log, just that they had a report that these were, the cars were full of batteries.
They had to have somebody call.
So someone called in, whether it was someone on the radio that was out there calling dispatch, saying, hey, this is what we've got, or if someone actually called into the 911 center.
Okay.
I think conversation that we had while out on the scene, I think we determined that there might have been a couple cars away that had batteries in it. But there was definitely confusion on what was actually burning.
Yes.
At the time.
So, after we were able to make sure that we had people staffed at our evacuation location, the shelter locations, we had dispatch put another, rave alert out on, where our evacuation locations were. At 12:58, UP notified our dispatch center that they were going to start up running trains again on the main line, because where this was not on or close to the main line. There's actually quite a bit of distance between it and the main line.
What would have happened if wind would have shifted though? Because we had a real threat
That
about
was,
wind
that was
shifts.
something that came later when we were talking with the weather service, that we were looking at a wind shift. Basically, the wind was gonna be coming out of the north going south later in the afternoon, evening hours. So we were already coming up with a plan, and that's where another rave alert eventually went out later that afternoon. 4 people, basically again, not even Splinter Road, it was,
Homestead?
what's that?
Is it Homestead?
Homestead to Front Road, south, all the way to A Street, for those people to be prepared to evacuate their homes if this fire continued and we did get that wind shift. So we had that going because, again, we were in contact a lot with the weather service. weather does, do a lot for us and can do a lot against us during these things. Knowing that we were gonna have a wind shift, and that wind shift could have came as late as 7 PM that night. And kind of where we were looking at, where we hadn't even moved that other train out of the way for the fire to get in there, were we still gonna be dealing with this at that time of night?
If you notice the train that's clear at the top of the picture,
Yeah.
they actually backed that back, that's a remote-controlled engine. They backed it back and hooked onto the 3 cars that were adjacent to the burning car. That's how the fire department was able to get in from the south. And that was also an attractive way of attack because there are a number of fire hydrants south of there that they could tie into, so they had an endless supply of water.
When
No, that's fine.
that took a while for them to move those cars though,
Yep.
didn't it? That was about 3:30 in the afternoon before those cars moved.
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember exactly what time that they started getting those cars finally moved.
Because that's when we were able to finally start dousing
Yes,
the actual fire.
yes.
And we were talking 3 hours after we even identified what was burning, before fire department could take action.
And of course, like any chemical fire, you have to worry about what reaction it's gonna have to water.
Yeah.
And knowing from the ERG, when they were comfortable that they were dealing with the acid, they knew exactly what they needed to do, and that was just dump water on this continuously. Because if you stop dumping enough water, it's gonna reignite and cause other problems, so. that
This
was-
information was about those classes of chemicals or that chemical in particular?
That chemical in particular.
Okay.
So, again, the ERG is a big thing that the fire department readily uses to deal with hazmat material. Because it gives them a lot of stuff, as well as contacting the shipping company. Most shipping companies have a chemist on hand that they can talk to that can give them the full detail of what they need to do. Anywhere from what they need to be wearing to deal with this stuff to how to put it out.
And flooding it with water became a little bit of an issue because you had container inside a container, and to get the water in where it needed to be was an issue.
Yeah. Again, I think, we closed, Highway 30 was open by 5 o'clock, by 5:03. So that evacuation and everything by 5 o'clock was lifted. Because they were actually confident that we'd been seeing white smoke, so the fire was out, to where mainly it was just mostly steam from the water they're putting on. And the amount of chemical that they were even thinking during most of this time was burnt off a long time ago. And by 6 o'clock, we closed all of our shelters, because everybody was able to go home.
Brandon, question, during the incident,
Yes.
how were we monitoring the air quality?
That is something that North Platte Fire does.
Okay?
With their hazardous material vehicle, their training and equipment they've got. They're able to do that, and they do that quite extensively on hazmat. Because it's not only a safety issue for them, it's a safety issue of what we're looking at downwind that could affect the public.
As far as our emergency management plans when dealing with hazardous material situations, did we execute how we needed to? Were
Yes.
the plans followed? Can the same be said for our partners at the UP?
I'm not sure, I don't know what their plans are.
Okay? Again, I appreciate this information. Seeing the activity log for dispatch is very beneficial for me, because I did have some questions as far as the timeline that it took for us to get valuable pieces of information. I'm concerned about the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
time.
the length of time that it took, because I see it really wasn't even confirmed that there were 50 to 55, or 50, 55 gallon barrels until 15:03. That's when North Platte Fire 7 advised dispatch that that's what it was. You know, you take a look at this situation, we're extremely lucky. Perchloric acid, it's nasty, and it can cause major health issues and even fatalities in certain instances, but we're lucky that we executed our plans and we got people evacuated in a timely manner as fast as we could, once we realized what we were dealing with. But I also know what goes through that yard, and it's important that we do have things going through that yard, because the railroad, I mean, they ship a lot of things that keep our country moving, but perchloric acid is only one chemical that's moved. This could have easily been anhydrous or chlorine, and in which we're looking at a completely different type of situation. And when you look at this individually, anecdotally, it's easy for us to say, oh, this was just a fire of a car, we'll deal with it, but we don't have that luxury. In the past 2 weeks, we've had major reports coming out that really raise concern from my standpoint, and I hope from you, my colleagues, as well. We had a report from the FRA come out about over twice the average deficiency nationwide on UP lines for rolling stock. We've had a report just come out that detailed all the discrepancies that led up to the Gothenburg derailment. I think we owe it to the citizens of Lincoln County, and really to the state, to push in on this a little bit and get some answers, because we need to make sure that this is mitigated moving forward. As the chief emergency management officers for Lincoln County, that's our responsibility to the taxpayers and to the citizens of Lincoln County. And so I'd ask that we ask some tough questions. We find out that what steps are being taken by the Union Pacific to mitigate this moving forward. Because like I said, this could have easily been a different type of situation. The wind, we were blessed to have the wind coming out of the south.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we were looking at normal wind patterns, we could have easily been evacuating parts of North Platte, very easily. So that's my request, is that we invite stakeholders from different departments, whether it be the general manager, the superintendents. I think that we probably need to have some employee representatives in. I'd be interested in getting the FRA in here and hearing from them, as well as our first responder team. And how do we move forward together to address these concerns and make sure that our plans are in cohesion? Because I'm hearing roundabout ways from constituents that work out at the railroad that their emergency management plans weren't followed. Sirens were supposed to go off in Bailey Yard whenever there's a toxic burn, and that didn't happen. We had the UP asking to have the main line traffic restored when we had an active situation with a fire that easily could have had a wind shift and put Lincoln County residents that work out there in harm's way. So that would be my ask, Mr. Chairman, is that.
Yeah. How do we proceed on that? First off, we should be very thankful that no one was hurt or harmed, both UP employees and residents of Lincoln County. We're very thankful for that. We might have just been lucky. Will we be next time? Who knows? So we have to, for the sake of the safety and security of everyone in this county, that we take some action. And I would ask for your guidance as to how we proceed with that. Do we get the stakeholders together and we see what we can determine as a better response from all people involved?
I think so, yes, because there was some balls dropped, lack of communication in certain things, and different directions going in some aspects of this, where everybody should be going in the same direction, so.
I think their policy of not knowing what mixed loads are is very dangerous.
To me, that sounds,
They may not be dangerous when they're being transported, but when they turn into flames from another source, the smoke off of them can be very toxic, and probably was. That nasty black smoke, we don't know if that was coming from acid or if it was coming from the second load. And we had no idea what was in there, nor did anybody around there.
yeah,
It was information that appeared to me to be impossible to find.
and that just strikes me as being very poor policy.
Very concerning considering if it would have been semis on the interstate or on our state highway system or on our county roads, there's a lot of rules and regulations that surround that entity. So you have to wonder, why isn't it the same for the rail?
Mr. Chairman, it would
Yes, sir.
be my recommendation that I think this board is the proper board to conduct it. I think you as chairman, how you choose to do that is up to you, whether you do it through a committee. But it's a governmental body that I think that's absolutely where it should start. And I agree with everything that's been said.
Okay, with that in mind, would you and Commissioner Bruns like to lead up that investigation?
I'd love to.
I would be more than happy to.
Okay, let's have you proceed and bring information to us, and if we need to have information presented in front of this board in future meetings, let's do so.
Okay. We'll work with you, Brandon, on
Okay.
coordinating that.
Thank you very much for all the work that you did in that, Sheriff. Thank you very much for your work, and pass on those thank yous to the fire department and other first responders as well.
And on the parting, this is just one of the technology pieces that we get from the National Weather Service on a hazardous incident. They'll give us, we can give them all sorts of information, and they'll give us what that cloud bloom is gonna look like.
I should have included the weather service in my, my list of entities to give kudos to earlier. They were invaluable
Yep.
in the information that they were providing real time, so.
Or what level it is. So, and if the plume's going north, and then orange is level 2, yellow's level 1. So it didn't take very far for it to get, before it became just a mild health irritant.
It dissipated.
It dissipated quickly, and that's what, when it hits the air, that's what we wanted. We wanted to hit the air and dissipate quickly, and that's what it did, so.
Great.
Again, we're lucky with this particular chemical that was the case. But
I
again,
do know I
very
had
easy
a
to
phone
predict.
call from friends that live north of that area, and their first indication was they could taste it in the air.
Yeah.
And that's a concern.
Okay. Thank you very much for the information and the update.
Yep.
And we'll look forward to hearing more after Commissioners Hughley and Bruns dig into this a little deeper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon.
Okay, Deputy County Attorney, is there a need for a closed session?
No.
Good news.
All my
Okay.
problems have been handled.
Okay, next item is hear concerns from elected officials, department heads, or their representatives. Anything new from the road department? No big rains that washed anything out, and rains were pretty reasonable, huh?
Yeah. Of course, if the rain causes as much
Good.
problems.
Good. You bet. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, I am going to provide an update. Several weeks ago, I asked for a invoice to be pulled from the pay apps on the project that we're working on, the probation building. And I am satisfied that enough of the project has been completed that we can process this today. So I asked Becky to have it put back in. And that's the pay app for the $98,893. So after this, we will have the 10% left. We have our, hopefully, final walkthrough tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And we button this down.
Okay, 1 o'clock.
1 tomorrow. What's that? Not a binder, but yes, yes, I will. I'm gonna make sure that Booker might have a couple of stray invoices out there. I'll make sure those get turned into. Tyler, are you available tomorrow at 1?
Boy, it looks like I am.
It's your lucky day. Or maybe it's my lucky day, I don't know. I appreciate you joining me if you can. I'm sure there's gonna be some questions about a few things, and I'd like the big guns to be there.
Joe and I aren't. From here.
You guys are my next resort.
I thought
How
was a
does
joke.
this work? So this is an inheritance. Inheritance. Estate. What is the county code?
Not sure. That may, I don't even, is this today something I signed?
No.
Do you understand that, Becky? It's
Jail inspection.
inheritance tax.
It's a re,
I'm glad you did.
It's a refund.
It's a refund to
They
us.
pay an
Oh, a
estimated
refund to them.
to the state.
Okay.
They said
So this isn't a bill that we are paying for attorney fees. That was my impression, because there's an attorney's name on here. It's to this estate. I see. So they make an estimated payment, and then once everything is processed, sometimes there's a refund. Thank you.
Additional.
that's right, it's not always
It's
for
not
refund.
always, their refunds are very few, actually.
Sometimes they goes the other direction?
Yes.
Yes, thanks for that.
Gladly it goes the other direction.
Thank you for the
That car
explanation.
would have been closer to the city limits if we'd have had wind blowing right into the city.
Yeah, you wouldn't have had time for, room for error, you'd had to.
Well, hell, yes, 'cause
Do you get the rave
I don't know how you go
alerts
back
on your phone?
What does rave stand for?
how do you get
So,
around here?
I'm not sure what it stands for, but it's the,
Evacuation.
well, it's the. but
Okay,
I was- We'll wait till this is
you're
done.
right, you're right. I guess maybe we're ready for a budget work session, are we, Becky?
Yeah, you are, yes.
Well, I've been waiting all weekend. I couldn't wait to get to this.
My good intentions to reorganize my packet did not happen, so.
You do.
What? Boy, you were really quick over that.
Do you have a rubber stamp that we don't know about?
I have one.
Do you?
I do. Becky's got mine.
I think the person with the longest name should get one.
How do we like to look at them?
By the way, I did catch up, thank you.
What's that?
By the way, I did.
Becky, I've got
One last
two of these deals.
Yes. The ones that was the stuff we discussed at last week's meeting.
The red ones?
They all
have any
have different,
more.
they're all different numbers.
You guys
After the
passed all
meeting
the
last-
claims down?
Yeah, I think we're
They
done.
are
with it.
done. I am done.
Thank you.
Okay.
One set of claims, or the one hot stack, this one that says 18C. That was stuff we discussed at the meeting last week, changes we made from the meeting.
Okay,
I sent out an email saying, if you had changes, let me know by Thursday at 5 PM. I wanted everybody to go back through their budgets, make sure everything totaled correctly, because there's been a lot of moving parts.
And did my email get through to you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
It went right to apparently the
Okay, I'm
junk
with you.
mail.
Gotcha.
So anyway, and then I went through and actually matched my stuff up with Susan Moline's. We had odd cents, she didn't, sometimes she tweaks numbers, so I finished finalizing, so I would match her number 6.
Awesome.
So, that's the bigger set of things we did.
this one.
Yes. So, the only issue, as far as I know, is something that Booker brought to me this morning. I seen there was stuff from the attorney, laying on at least mine today, for her departments. Those all match with what I have. So apparently they all match with what I have. The one that Booker brought me this morning was for his payroll for building and grounds. When he did the breakdown for you guys,
Yeah.
but he did not total it up and he did not change it up above.
Dang it.
So it went from, what, 196,000 to 282,555.
What?
Say those
we have-
numbers again?
It went from 100 and I think we're what, 196, it's number 18, I believe, 17, 18.
In this stack of stuff that we just,
Well, it's, yes, it would be.
So it's not reflected in draft 5 or draft 6.
Pardon?
So that little hiccup is not reflected in the numbers on
Either
draft
one of
5 and
those.
6.
So I think I had 196,000, whatever, 315, whatever I had in there. That's what he.
So that's on 18.
Probably C.
C,
There's 17.
this one here.
17, yeah, it's probably 17, because he didn't have, that's the back page of it, I believe. And I think there's 17 A, B, I don't even know if they've changed that one.
I don't have a, never mind. I see what you're saying.
So it's
It
back
would be
in
in
our
the number-
original.
Yeah, it'd be like 1 dash something. It would be on 17B,
17B.
yes, 1 dash 1306.
The yellow page.
Yes,
not yellow
Yeah.
on mine, but
yeah,
17B.
yeah. Yeah, that was
I
done
must
on
be
paper in the middle of the
special.
night.
17B.
Yeah,
And what line item?
1 dash 0306. It's highlighted yellow. Because that was one we had tweaked because he had it in there and then you guys asked him to go back and he lowered it. Which I'm not sure why. Anyway, because he went from 227 down to 196 when you guys asked him questions. I don't know, but
And what-
anyway,
And the number should be
282,555.
282.
Yep.
And his original number was what again, Becky?
196, 365.
His very, I know
No,
his
it
very
was
first
two
original
something.
number was, we went from 196, 365 to 227,461 to back to 196,365.
Back, and
now
now
it's
to
what?
282,555.
Yes.
So,
How is that possible?
yeah. Something
Yeah.
doesn't seem right.
So is it a matter of him hiring another person or not? It has to be, because that's what it
Well,
said.
if
Can't just be one, that has to
That
be
can't
multiple.
be.
If you guys look at on the bottom where it had the breakdown for you.
Okay, I got it.
And that's on which page?
I think it's 17C.
I gave you guys a copy of that.
Booker's copy.
I think it's 17C.
Oh, yep, mine says Booker's copy.
Okay, so there is a new person figured in there, but that does not equal that.
Oh,
I
it
don't
does say
think
new.
the cost of living in that was figured for his other people correctly either. Can you see that in the very bottom? But there's like that bottom figure for a new person.
Right, right. New 14.
I have a 17A.
It's this one, Kent, that says Booker's copy at the top.
This, there we go.
Should we call Booker and see if he can come over? Do you want to? Or no?
I suspect we're gonna have to get this worked
I
I
out.
think
would
we need
like-
some clarification.
Yeah, if it was just a few thousand, that'd be one thing, but it's,
The figure you gave though, Becky, these numbers down here, the salaries, that's what that total is?
I guess so.
Oh, okay, you didn't.
I didn't,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
I just took what was on the top.
Hey, Booker, I'm good. Can you come over and join us? We're looking at your budget page and we need some clarification. Yeah, see you in a bit.
I will contact some of you guys later to see if you finalize this budget today, so I can just, I've got so much to write about this, I gotta get
Yes.
So, and to fill in the other part, Jerry, Joe would remember this. The first time I ever learned about planning and zoning was covering the 1987 rewrite of the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan. Rory Paulman was the chairman of the County Planning Commission. I didn't, my colleagues did not report on county planning commission as I would have liked. So I'm trying to get back to that point. So absolutely, we're going to be reporting on what you were talking.
Did you say Rory Coleman? I'll bet you
Rory
meant.
Paulman was the chair in
I'll bet you
1987
meant to
when
say
Roger
Roger.
was on the board with Joe and Don.
Doug Christensen, oh, what year?
It was Roger.
87.
Had to be
That was Roger Paulman.
Roger.
Yeah, but it was Don
Roger's on the
Christensen.
board, but Rory was the planning commission chair.
Oh, yes.
But
Roy
the other one
the
was Don Christensen,
Don-
Yes, Dr. Christensen.
Yeah, but yeah, Haas came on the board.
just after that, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, sir, for your
history.
reporting.
You betcha.
Appreciate it.
See, if I got this old brain, that still recall some things.
I'm always impressed with your recall. I can't. My recall's terrible. That's
Well,
why
I
take
wouldn't
notes.
have, except Becky backed him up, so I know it's right.
The sad part, Joe, is Tammy and I have been around only a few years less than you.
Let's see.
That is true. We're hoping you're all around a few years more.
I haven't even absorbed where I'm at or what I'm doing right here now.
Well, you guys remember you questioned his salaries.
Yes, we did.
And then, he did that, but like I said, I
What you're
would
saying,
not have.
we're about 100,000.
Okay, Becky, so switch gears while we're waiting on this.
Yes, for about 86,000.
Talk about the public
86,000
hearing
on night.
Okay.
for September 20th.
Thank you,
So-
Kent, because I've been wondering.
Yeah, what's gonna happen Wednesday? Do we have to be there?
Yes,
Holy shit.
we still have to be there. The school also is gonna be there as far as I know.
But it'll
We're
be
gonna-
short and sweet.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and do the presentation, because if we don't do it, we have to have another public hearing on next week. So we're paying for it, we pay for, basically, we're gonna be paying for all those postcards. So Susan Moline is going to do it updated with wherever we end up today.
Presentation.
Bottom line, when we left.
Short
the-
and sweet.
When we left the meeting last week, where we thought we were at with our 4C, 5C, draft 5, we are not. We're like 86 with that, and then 86 to this
Number
6.
6, yes.
And what does that do to the bottom line?
Not a whole lot, honestly. I mean, I know $86,000 is a lot of money, but when you're talking
Millions,
63 million, it's,
not
it'll
a
move
big
it
part
a
of
little,
it.
but I don't even know that it'll move it enough to go past a decimal point.
Regarding Wednesday, do I need to come in and visit with Susan tomorrow or earlier Wednesday?
Well, wouldn't, I mean, you can do whatever you want to, but isn't she gonna be our mouthpiece? And we are not going to be answering questions, surely, are we?
Correct.
No, I
So
don't
she'll be
think,
making the presentation
Yeah,
and,
and it's not a question and answer. We sit there like this.
yeah, last year there was no banter back and forth. It was just the citizens making remarks.
Yeah. That led to a lot of consternation with the public. I don't think that we should be afraid to answer questions that they have.
Yeah.
And the point being, we've worked really hard to get this whittled down. There shouldn't be any consternation. I think that the people that are gonna be there are gonna have some confusion because they got the postcards that
Right.
show a huge tax increase. And when they learn that that's not actually reality because of the work that we've done,
but it does say on there estimated.
right. So but that's just simple discussion.
Yeah, I thought that was I need to clean up my language here, but
I think that's
That was
the thing that left the biggest
whole
bad
meeting-
taste in people's mouth last year.
Yep.
Was no elected officials responded to questions and concerns.
know why they did that.
They do it at school board meetings too, right? Yeah.
And this meeting is where again?
Mid Plains College at 6 PM
The
in the
north or
theater.
south campus?
in the South Campus and
I
the
didn't put that
theater.
in my South Campus.
I mean, it's unfortunate because everybody got the postcards, but not everybody's gonna get the final information. That's frustrating.
It's in the same boat.
What's that?
The North Platte Public Schools is the
Same
same thing,
boat,
same
yeah.
situation as ours.
That's
So are
true.
those the only two entities that have to be
Sutherland
there?
Public Schools.
And Sutherland.
Wednesday. 6 p.m.
So,
Be at the college.
last year was about $11,000 and it was divvied up to all the people that had to attend this. Now there's only, what, 3 attending? So we get to put a lot of that.
Well, I mean, North Platte Public Schools will have to, pull their fair share, but
Okay.
Well, Kit, would you do this? Oh, no, I forgot. I best not say this, even in jest, because people take things the wrong way sometimes. So I will merely say, I will not be there because I will be on my way to visit family.
I think we're gonna have fair enough representation.
Well, I was hoping
don't
it would be
see-
fair.
I don't-
That's the reason I was gonna make my comment.
I don't think I think there'll be enough of us there, we'll be all right. Can't be everywhere.
Well, this is,
And it'll
not
be-
if I
it'll
want
be
to
a
remain
short
married, I
meeting,
can't.
right?
depends on how many people show up and how many people want to speak.
So there'll be 3 presenters, right? Susan will take care of that for this board. Okay.
Yes. There are requirements you have to do.
And she'll have that presentation put together then.
Yes.
Do one of us still have to sit up at the table with her though?
Jerry's
Jerry?
I'd gladly let somebody else take my spot if they
No,
want.
you earn that, Jerry. That's, comes with that.
What are you
whole
in charge?
Campaign funds that you
When-
spent,
is he
but
coming right
for
over?
sure.
Somebody else.
Is he coming right over?
There he is.
There he is.
There he is.
Sorry, guys.
We still got Jill to it. Jill, in fact.
Booker, there's some confusion on your numbers.
I had a little confusion myself this
Yeah.
morning with them.
I get it. It's been a learning experience for more than just you. Me too.
Okay, so I couldn't print this out, so I'm having a little computer difficulty on the formula. When we talked last time, Becky and I figured out that it was gonna be $640 for 3 months, and then the $1,440 for the rest of the 9. And then adding in your COLAs, correct? Make sure I'm not.
What line item are we talking about?
On all the,
This one dash 0306.
yes,
Okay,
sorry.
where's it? Okay,
And we're on 17, right?
Yeah.
17, what number? C, B?
I put B on mine.
B.
Be
Okay,
on
yeah,
mine.
is that how we got the 196, 365?
Yes.
Okay. So what did we miss in there then, I guess?
When we did the one, this is where it's confusing as hell to me, I guess, but I apologize for my language. Went up to 227 on this highlighted version, 46, but when I send this to you, it comes across, it doesn't show it says full or new full-time custodian, it just says 6.72.
Oh, you added a new line item. See, we can't have, the line item, it's the same number. So it's
Okay.
gonna have to be included in there. I
So
was
where's it
thinking-
at?
He has 2-1-0306.
Right here.
See, there's two
There's
numbers
two
the
of
same.
them, one right
He
below
just
the
had-
other one.
And I didn't add the,
Yeah, okay.
So it didn't do the math.
it didn't do the math.
Yeah, and we
And
can
I
only
couldn't
use
send
that
it
one
with my
item, so we'll
computer.
have to combine them anyway.
So full-time,
So, here, I'll show you.
So what is the number for the new full-time
On
custodian?
this one here.
It's right here. I handed it to Becky.
10306.
Yep.
He's
I
got two of them.
Well,
That's
And
all
it
I
only
where's your
calculates one
breakdown?
line.
Breakdowns here.
So
Sorry.
it didn't do this, it didn't
I mean,
add it
we're
into
gonna
So
use
this.
what
that
is that
same
number
line
supposed to be?
item.
Well, on
So
the
it's
original one, it
282,
was
555, bottom line.
227,
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
227, 461.
But Joe asked the question was, Joe's question was, is that he said full of other units too.
This one? It
No,
has to be custodial.
there was a bigger piece I thought.
Oh,
For Joe to see it, because that's the only way I could really show you
this
guys.
one probably.
Sorry.
Yes, they've got that.
I've got it,
We,
Brooke, I've
yeah,
got it
we all
right here.
have that one, Booker.
It's just a thing.
Unless you've
But
updated it.
you asked what the new would be 21, and that's only 9 months, that's not without the 3 months in there.
What we're looking at is that number
Okay.
right there.
So the final number is the 282,555.
Yes,
And I
'cause-
thought that was high too, so I had Sarah double check, somebody smarter than me. And
And
that's what it
she
is,
came up with
Yeah.
that number also.
before I came in here this
So it's
morning.
100 grand over where we were a year ago for actual cost.
But here's, if you're adding for a new person, 21,000, right?
Yeah.
I still don't get how we go from 196 to 282 because you say new full-time custodian.
You're not asking the wrong person.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah.
It should only be
How I did the math to
21,000
that, Joe,
increase.
was,
Should only be a $21,000 increase.
yeah, but then I added the COLA in there
Yeah,
myself,
but-
should I not have done that?
But even COLA at 6.72% is not gonna increase the whole thing 100 grand.
For all of the employees, for the whole
He's
department.
already got him in there,
Let's
so
stop
he's
with-
got the colon
Let's step back to
included.
Joe's point. Let's
Yes, sir.
Step back to Joe, because he had a good base, okay, so he's identifying that the number was 196,
Yes, sir.
365, right?
Yes, sir.
And we are adding
COLA 0.067% on,
the 196,
yeah, if you did that total, yes.
so the COLA's not properly addressed in the 196 number? Is that what you're saying? Even though it says on the right
It
hand
says
side?
with cost of living.
It says with cost of living, so now.
And one additional staff.
So that's the formula on the bottom.
He's got two lines here with the same.
Right.
Well, I'm trying to stay on the
He's
same,
staying, I
on the
see where you're
same
going from.
page here, so that.
That's
because we
okay,
got
but the number's still wrong.
If we start,
think so.
okay, so 196,
I agree with that.
365, Booker, that was your
Yes.
number. Now, so we.
21 would be at 210, I get what you're,
Well, let me finish. Okay, so now you're saying that did not factor in the COLA? The 196 number?
no.
It did not.
Okay, that's easy enough. We'll
That's
just
easy
do
enough,
that.
so we add the 6,
What is that number?
That's an additional $13,195.70.
Plus 21, so
Say that again.
$13,195.73.
Okay,
For
that,
an-
196, how's that?
so what's the aggregate then? Instead of 196, 365?
196.
And then to that, we add,
365. So that's
On the
209,560.
209, 560.
and then to that, we add $21,513.60 for your
new,
person, am I
yeah,
correct?
for the 9 months, yes. That'll be in this budget year.
21,514,
yes,
round up.
Yeah,
21,
isn't that what you, that's what
Yes.
you're saying?
Yes, sir.
That's the one on the bottom that
21,514.
says new, and that would go in the line item, the second 0306, although they're gonna be combined into one number. Am I getting confused?
So 209, 560 plus 21,5.
Should be about 231,074.
Okay, guys, maybe I'm confused myself,
So 231,000, not
so
200.
I'm gonna sit down. Yeah, I guess, let's go.
Well, Joe's got it figured out.
Here,
Look at
buddy.
his number.
Sorry.
So what we did was,
I'm following.
there's what you turned in,
along.
but
I
you
think
still
that's
didn't have COLA.
231.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's
Chris
231,
put the
not
COLA
282.
on that, what your total amount was right there,
231, right?
on the
Yeah.
196.
That's what my mind,
I didn't catch that, but what's the
so-
number for the new employee?
21,514.
Because it's just for 9 months.
So if you think that this
231.
COLA on the 196, and then we add your new
231
person
grand.
Yeah,
down
21, yeah.
of the 21,
each 282.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Joe.
sorry.
What-
I must have screwed up when I did the
I was
formula
like, that
here,
doesn't
Joe.
make any sense.
So like, just do me,
So
then you
$51,000.
add, 178 COLA.
I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah, but let's not remember all these other people, because you've got them added right here.
It should be.
Do you,
When they add across
Now, what
regular
about-
time salary
what about-
custodial, right?
Just you're just
Taxes,
doing-
payroll
yes.
taxes.
So that-
I should have double checked.
Insurance.
But that's okay, it came to
All that
one
stuff.
96.
Yes.
Where is that accounted for?
So let's just do it math. There's 60, that's 70, that's 100, less
Honestly,
3,
no, the answer
97, 100, 132,
I can tell you it's not
129,
gonna be
130,
$50,000.
182, 182.
How are we doing, Tyler?
182, 140.
You wanna go
Joining us for the jail?
182, 182.
Haven't yet in 5 years.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it?
221,
Bunch of
261.
veterans.
Are you saying that they should have
probably a
added
good
it to
thing.
this amount, not this amount? Because that's how Becky got her number. Oh, shit. Hey, guys,
okay, I
I
think
think
Joe
we're all
figured
wrong.
it out.
We're all wrong.
We're all wrong.
I think this is what Booker did. I think. I mean, just doing rough numbers fast. I think we just should not look at that page 17B, what he has for salaries.
Okay.
But if you look at the way he refigured them down below,
On the one that says Booker's.
Booker's
Bookers are yellow.
Yeah,
I think that's the numbers we have to use. If you do, you're probably gonna come close to 282,
You guys
255.
asked me to break down to precise.
Yep.
With the
We
COLA
did.
at the last meeting.
we did.
That's so I followed through, and I'm like, Becky, how do
Is that about what you get down there?
I go, Becky, how do we do that? And she goes, well, 3 months you gotta go on their regular salary rates right now. Then you go 9 months with their COLA. And that's what I figured out every single one and broke them down where we got to the total
So
number.
if we add all of these up, we will come up with that 282,555?
Yes.
And I think that's what.
And I
think
had to double check it, and that's why I did it, because you guys wanted, well,
You are
And
correct.
so,
You are
so
correct.
you're correct, we asked for it to adjust a mathematical error ahead of time, and it's corrected down here below according to Booker.
yes, and Chris wrote down exact what it was, and I did the best capabilities, guys. I'm sorry.
No,
That's okay.
you do
It
not owe
happens.
us an apology.
Just trying to
Booker.
figure it
I
out.
know budget.
We just wanted to
Everybody.
understand.
But that's how we came up with that. And I double checked, guys, like I said this morning, because I thought it was high, and I was like, oh, dang. I need Sarah.
Can we,
But,
There's
can we
one
have
I
you
still
blocked
think we're
later?
wrong.
I might fly.
but you know what, something still isn't right, I'll tell you, so let's, I need to take a deep breath. If we look at how much we expended in 22, 23, the reason we expended that much was part of Jeff leaving.
So we had
Go back the year before and look at a 148. That's a real year. 148 is a real year, which is 21, 22.
Okay,
The only thing we're doing, we're adding cost of livings coming up through here. And a new employee for 9 months or 3 months or whatever it is. That's all we're doing. So we're gonna be less than the 282 because Booker, God bless you, but something is not right with that second number, because if you do that, put a COLA on 148 of 7% for 2 years, so 14%, okay? Call it 15% on 150, so that's 15,000, that's 22,500 bucks, okay? That brings 170, is where he should be right now. And if you add 21 onto that, we're still under 200,000 bucks, guys.
And plus an employee.
No, that's including
that's
it.
including, yeah.
So
Yeah,
somehow we're
Joe,
wrong.
Joe, you've got a good point there,
Excellent, yeah.
because, yeah, the 22, 23 had
Because that is Jeff
extra money
payout.
because of Jeff. And how much money was that?
That's quite a bit, 30, 40,000, I don't know. I don't remember what it was. but-
Okay, so that makes up the difference from 148 to 182. That isn't in this year.
That's right. So we go back to that 22 year and build off of that. So something's still not quite right. So let's help Booker right now. Sit down and maybe go in the other room or something and just kind of go over this again.
I
Does that
agree.
make
Okay,
sense?
and I actually come up with, I came up with like $646 more. I don't know where you guys got the one number in there. It should be
Yeah, 'cause, yeah,
283, whatever.
Yeah,
That's what I come up with, Becky, is 283,200.
Yep, that's what I come up with.
Yeah, 'cause
Two eight-
283,200.
And if you wanna check, I think Jeff is probably making just about what Booker is now, that 28, 21 with the COLA.
There's no way that can be.
283 what, Tammy?
You're right.
283, 200.
It's not correct. Not on payroll.
So, Joe, you're saying let's go off.
Payroll. For the last year.
Well, what he's pointing out is what, the year that Jeff vacated. Okay, so we wrote him a big check for, accumulated.
And I was dumb enough not to know that.
And we had, also, we had,
Well, no, Jeff was
didn't we
pulled
have
out.
simultaneously,
Jeff was top.
he
Okay,
stayed on a little longer? I don't
okay,
remember.
okay, just a minute here. I
I don't remember that timeline.
Yeah, I came up with 283, 197. 283, 197, I didn't figure in any of the loose change.
Yeah, but you're just taking these numbers here.
I'm just taking these numbers.
All right,
numbers
let's
are not
back
right.
up a minute here.
Not
And
unless
regular
somebody
time
does.
salary administration, Booker's salary is up there, and that's getting thrown in that figure.
Oh,
Yes, sorry, pick me up, that's what.
58,695 comes
Now
out of there.
now we're getting
There
back
you
into the
are.
roll.
Yes,
Sorry, I just did it as a
okay.
group for all of us with the COLA.
Now we're getting back into the roll, that's all I'm saying.
So 224,502, I did not figure in any of the loose change.
Okay, that's a reasonable number.
Okay.
Sorry, I
Very
did
good.
figure myself in, I didn't think about that being a
Yep,
separate line
nope,
item.
you are
And that
right.
is me.
So,
We pay you?
I know.
I know.
So what,
Thanks, Kent.
so what,
Thanks, Jerry.
what
Appreciate
does
it.
But a
this
great,
need to
but a
be?
great learning.
for all
Yeah,
of us.
Experience.
For all of us.
83,200, right, is
So
what we
Well,
had on the
Joe
paper.
knew there was something wrong.
Yeah, he knew it was wrong.
Are you gonna need extra though in case you have somebody retire this year?
We're not gonna let him.
Wow, let's have a conversation about that.
Okay,
I,
so we are
like I
back now.
expressed earlier, I am a little nervous about somebody gonna have to retire because of health issues no matter what.
Right, right.
Like,
Yeah.
and then you're dealing with their comp time, the whole gamut too. And we're kind of flirting with that with two of them for sure.
And how, so Becky, historically, how do we deal with that?
You pay
Yeah, I
out of
don't
the
know.
budget. You gotta budget for
You,
it.
you have to budget for it.
But you can't anticipate every one of those things.
No,
No.
no. But if you know it, you need to
But we
budget.
should budget for it, right? Shouldn't we stack the deck in our favor of being prepared for it?
That's where you guys get paid the big bucks.
Joe,
That's
what's
what you
your
do.
opinion on that?
That's what the rest of us do. If we think somebody's gonna retire, we figure in there approximately what they, because I did that with Terry. Julie's done that with some of her office.
I mean, all indicators say
One's
that
gonna go.
we're gonna have one.
And it's not gonna, it might not even be on their terms.
Okay,
Right.
It might just be medical.
is it the kind of thing though where that person has a lot of comp time, or have they already taken it?
Yeah,
Okay, they have a lot of comp time, they've not used it for medical.
yeah, they haven't.
And are they going to in the future use it for medical and eat it up?
How do we, how do
I
we
doubt it.
make them go that route, I guess? I don't know where the ground would stand to do that. Does that make sense? Like, I'm okay with them doing that, shit, I'd just be as happy as you would if they do that. That'd make it great, but I don't know if they will. And I don't think
Well,
there's any way we can.
Is there
But if you don't
language
have any
in
sick
there
leave
that?
left, how do you get?
Our handbook is going through the process of being rewritten right now.
Right,
But everything that they have would be grandfathered into the prior.
The person I'm thinking about, if that does happen, they'll ride out with sick leave or vacation trying to get back, but I don't think they're in the position, if something does go south, they're coming back. On their own accord, nothing to do with me. I'm just saying, like,
right.
it's kind of a weird balancing deal because why I wanted another employee is because I didn't want them being sick
So
and then I'm
nobody
getting
has
such
any,
comp time.
nobody
But-
has any grasp of how many dollars you're talking about for hours?
You'd have to talk to Sarah at payroll as far as.
Isn't that employee you're talking about, isn't that
Dick.
the additional employee, doesn't that cover what we're talking about?
Yeah, but that's why I want,
No, I understand, but that is taken care of. The employee part, it hasn't taken care of maybe some comp time per se, right?
from the
Vacation.
Yeah.
See, that person, I believe, is
That's
maxed out
gonna
on
be a
vacation.
sizable buyout.
Well, how many hours can we back up on vacation?
30 days.
it's a month pay.
Yeah, that's not a lot of money.
No.
Big scheme of things. Is it?
A couple $1,000
Not
maybe?
not if you're looking at these
No,
figures.
$1,000. 50.
Well,
I feel you, I've got the same damn thing rolling.
Even if it's 3,000.
So annoying.
Well, I'm gonna follow
It's not-
Becky and Sarah's move.
It's not like you've got 6 months,
So that's comp time though, but what about vacation?
You gotta pay them out on their vacation. if they
30
don't-
days.
No,
That's
the
max-
comp time is separate.
240,
That's the
240
30.
hours.
So you have the 30 days of comp time plus the vacation, accumulated vacation time.
But how long can we accumulate, how many days of vacation? We don't accumulate forever, we only,
No, we don't.
we don't get 30 days, use it or lose it.
By the first of the year.
Yep, it burns
Right.
How
up.
about at 240 hours?
240 hours.
So 240 times their wages and.
That's 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah,
So that's what we
So
got.
6,000 total.
6,000 total. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Right,
Yeah, it's not like a budget breaker.
okay.
Okay, so tell me what that line item is now instead of 282,555.
It should be minus my salary.
So I did the
Take-
math, 224,502,
What's that?
roughly. 224,502. I didn't figure in any change, so that's just rounding. up or down.
282,55, and what do we subtract off of that, Becky?
The five, my
Well,
salary.
it was,
58?
it was 283,200. We're subtracting 58,695.
So what does that bring us to?
224,505.
224,505?
Yes.
Becky, where do we account for payroll taxes, benefits, things like that?
So different.
Different line item.
But I mean, I
Last
just,
time, 'cause I didn't know how to figure that out either.
That's-
Are
yeah.
we taking the steps necessary to get that all accounted for?
yeah, I have to estimate those. There's no way to know.
So then at that point, we're gonna have to hopefully pad at 6, because that's a month of vacation, a month. Oh,
The one person has 152 hours. I just got that from Nicole
okay,
as of now.
so.
So this new number needs to go to Susan, right?
Yes, and we'll probably have to republish after next week's meeting, because I don't know that she'll.
Okay, so for right now on this budget, and we put in 224,505 for that line item.
Yes.
Do we want to add another $10,000? That's a question to cover these other things, 5,000. I don't care. If we do, let's just do it and move on.
I think we should add 10,000 for the possibility of one, potentially two people retiring out of that department
Yes.
to cover their comp and vacation buyouts.
Save a lot of heartache moving forward if it does happen.
I think
Okay,
you are right.
so tell me what line item we'd let them put that in.
Do 10306, because it's gonna come out of that same line item.
So we're making that 234,505.
Correct.
And we should be done. Then we take out the lease for the Bobcat to offset that.
I think that's,
I was gonna say that, and then I decided that everything I think doesn't need to be said.
Well, I feel like, and I asked myself, sorry for bringing
No,
the Bobcat
Booker,
tracks up earlier. I
Well,
thought
that
mine
is
was
good.
done.
Booker, we're
Yeah,
all
that's not a big deal.
learning together.
Not a big deal at all.
we're okay, we're okay.
I'm glad I'm not the only person that does that kind of stuff. Booker, you make me feel better.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a learning curve, but hopefully not what it is.
Okay, so that's,
Next year will be easy squeezy.
So, you have to publish in the paper and the deadline is noon today, right?
Yeah, we'll see how fast you can do this and if it'll take it.
What other things, Becky, if any, can you think of that we've had an adjustment on, or a change, or that we need to talk about, other than the things that you have physically gave us right here? And once you make the one change from Booker's on draft 6,
Yeah.
so that it's gonna basically add 50,000 to, no, what?
38,000.
It adds 38 to this one, okay, all right.
And where,
So we go from 1.08% decrease in our property tax request to roughly 1% decrease in our property tax request.
so we're taking out how much, 38,000?
We're adding 38,000.
38,000.
38,
To the bottom line.
Plus 38,140.
140.
So between draft 5 and 6, there's about $10,000, where is that? No, $4,000 difference. There's just two potential drafts, so what's the 4,000?
For what?
Oh, I don't know,
That
you
was an
just
error
said
on
between 5 and
Alex's,
6.
line item for furniture.
No, so disregard
that's right.
5 altogether.
Yeah, basically.
So drive on through it, okay, so.
I had them all.
So draft 6 is where we're at,
Yes.
and we're gonna add 38,000 to that.
Yes.
38, 140.
38,140, okay,
We're still in pretty good shape then, right?
yes. Okay,
Joe, the budgets I do 25 budgets. I can't tell you what was all in there. I made notes, left it the same as last year, whatever I did, so.
Becky, if you could tell us what all's in there, you're grossly underpaid.
Grossly.
She is anyway.
So,
I'm
Why
struggling.
did you look at me when you said that?
She handles all of them.
Yeah, it's a big job.
I would not want it.
I'm happy with this.
16.
It's been a long budget
It's been a
season.
lot of work.
So,
Some of it self-inflicted.
Becky, you made a comment earlier dealing with the joint public hearing.
yeah.
We have to participate. If we did not, we would have to have a meeting, a public hearing the following week.
Yeah.
I thought we still have to have a public hearing on the 25th.
You do for the budget, but not for the property tax request.
Okay.
Because you actually have two.
That's two different things, huh?
That's two,
Good.
yes.
So-
I wish it was that
Thank you.
easy.
So really, your property tax only 1% came out in Lincoln County? Is what you guys figured?
No, we're decreasing.
Less.
Decreasing?
Less.
Good.
We're, our property tax request, roughly 1% decrease.
No problem. So I can take them pink
So, yes,
things and
we'll
salmon
have
colored
three
deals and throw them out, yeah?
Well,
Yeah. Watch out for the hazardous smoke that comes off that pink color, though.
so,
I will make my own comments to everybody, but I think that we need an email going out on behalf of the board thanking all the elected officials and department heads for their cooperation and hard work in this process.
I agree.
Yes, absolutely, because there was some
Because
hard.
this hasn't been easy.
I think instead of 1.08, it's 1.066200.46.
Nice to be exact, yeah.
and that's lower, less.
Yes. Instead of 108, it'll read should read 107 if you look at it like that, so.
I know, I'm broke.
For the, just to help me understand,
This is mostly too far.
I had to do this.
Adding, Joe, because the levy's
Jerry
gonna
rig
go
it
up
to where
by
it's-
not down.
Yeah, but that's
Well, I got
minus,
that.
so we're not saving that much.
You're just smarter
We're
than
not
all.
Oh,
cutting
sorry,
it.
that's what we're saying. You're talking
Yeah,
about the
100th
savings.
of a percent.
You're
Yeah,
talking
no,
about
it's a
the
minus,
levy. I'm like,
yeah.
you can't have a plus and have the levy go down.
No, yeah, it,
So,
it's going
whatever
up
you
by
said, you're
8.
saying, because I missed it.
there will be 3 agendas for next week's meeting, because we can't have the budget hearing as part of the regular meeting, so we gotta have a separate budget meeting, and then we gotta have a separate meeting after that to actually adopt the resolution, so.
What could we do differently next year when we're working on the budget to have all of this done before the postcards go out? So the postcards would have been correct.
It's almost impossible.
Almost
Yeah,
impossible.
that's.
With the holiday
It's the lag
in
in the
there?
budget process.
Oh,
It's-
it
it's
drives me
flawed.
crazy that
Flawed.
we're already spending money that we
Because you don't know.
haven't decided on yet.
Yep.
So there's nothing.
I've had a
nothing.
conversation with Senator Jacobson. We're gonna have more conversations on it. I've had a conversation with John Cannon. I would like to see us propose some legislation to bring our budget season in line with other political subdivisions to where we figure out our budget before the fiscal year even starts.
Right.
So that way we're not running into this situation of we're spending money that hasn't been approved. It's just, it's dysfunctional.
It is, and there are other political entities that have done that, have aligned
The city is
their-
lined up, their fiscal year
Right.
starts October 1. They
Yes.
have their, they just went through their entire budget
Yep,
session.
right.
They know what they have approved, what they're spending before they're even in their fiscal year, and there's no reason why counties can't be that. It's just gonna change, it's gonna take a change of state statute to get it done.
Well, I can get behind that.
So,
Booker, thank you.
guys.
we're on it.
Thank you, Becky.
You're welcome, Booker. We'll get it changed. Yep.
You too,
I'll see you tomorrow.
tomorrow,
Thank you,
1
Booker.
o'clock.
1 o'clock, Booker.
May I make a comment? Probably out of place, and the chair will rule me in a little bit.
Go ahead, Bill.
Before any one of us on this board talks to state senators or the head of NACO about legislation on behalf of the board, would somebody please talk to the board before you do that?
It wasn't on behalf of the board, it was just
On
my
behalf of
own.
yourself?
Yeah, I just was spitballing my frustration with the state senator.
Oh, so
It
not
wasn't- It was
necessarily,
not proposed to the state senator that this was what this board would like to see. It was,
but I mean, I just was, well, I was questioning, Chris, because you can understand.
no, I would absolutely, if it's, anything is done on behalf of this board,
No,
it
but
needs to come
before I
before
talk to the
this board.
senator, I just would hope that, you know.
No, that's just the relationship that I have with Mike, is spitballing my frustration with our budget and what can be done.
Your biggest issue you're gonna have with that is almost every county clerk in the state does the budget process, and we are knee-deep in election till first part of June. It's probably gonna be later with all these new changes.
I was
And
going,
then we go into protests, so I mean, it's just,
I was,
there's
go-
never a good time. I
I
mean,
was-
there really isn't.
I was-
That's your biggest problem with moving it ahead.
I was going to go
in
on and
election
say
year.
that's not the first time this frustration was come up, because when I was a young man and had hair, I didn't just have frustration, I raised holy you know what. And clerks have a lot of say in that process, so I wasn't even lucky enough to make it through the nickel board.
I'm not saying.
Anyway, appreciate it.
Really, the only thing, my thought, is our fiscal year start date, that's it. That it starts October 1. We still have every timeline that we have currently as far as when we're going through budget, when things have to be published, public hearings, everything else. But the fiscal year starts October 1. That's the only.
It seems very backwards.
Exactly.
Rather than July 1.
Yeah. So
I mean,
it
that was
doesn't,
one
it
of
doesn't
the-
put any undue stress on the county clerks as far as being in the middle of elections or anything like that.
Except your year end is going to fall right in the middle of, I mean,
Protests and everything else.
well, not so much protests at that point, but your fiscal year is gonna start right in the middle, at least an election cycle, which is becoming more and more of an issue. Anyway,
Back to your remark. So with me working with the Veteran Service Officer, should I have brought that before the board?
Oh, I think it would be nice, but that's just my viewpoint, you know,
Isn't that a
it's
relief, right?
being done on behalf of our county. Yeah.
Okay, so we need to go over to the,
I guess I didn't even think
Yeah,
about
I
that
didn't think
because
so.
it was him and his board that came to
we were
me.
gonna get out of here with the budget stuff, so.
Yeah.
I can
Never mind.
I'm almost done. Andy.
Oh, I forgot.
What are we doing?
It's always time when we go over there and I'm really hungry.
detention center.
They probably feed you.
No, we can't.
Oh.
We gotta go to see the jail.